A man collapses in a rain-slicked alleyway, left for dead in the cold. Jinquin gasps for air as his memories rush back to the surface. He realizes he should have perished in that massive blast, and as the dizziness fades, he recalls his past life as a special forces soldier where his entire team was lured into a deadly trap and betrayed by their own organization who marked them for a guided strike, leaving them to be obliterated in a hellish fireball. Jinquin forces himself to his feet to find a safe place to hide, spotting a flicker of light coming from a nearby doorway. He calls out to see if anyone is inside, finding a stranger who reacts with immediate, visible hostility, but the man seems to be under some kind of strange, dark influence, and he recoils in confusion as Jinquin approaches him. Another voice cries out for an elder brother. Jinquin pivots to see the man collapse to the ground. A small metallic device drops onto the blood-slicked floor, and Jinquin snatches it up, realizing the strange object is clearly the target of his pursuers. But two hooded figures emerge from the shadows, dismissively calling him a rat. One of the assailants locks eyes with him and vows to kill him for the prize. Jinquin realizes he's being hunted by relentless killers, so he narrowly dodges a lethal strike as the attacker lunges forward. An explosive blast rocks the floor, but Jinquin manages to scramble away. He keeps the device clutched tight, threatening to toss it into the abyss if they do not back off, and he uses the distraction to dive straight into an open manhole, escaping into the sewers while the hooded figures are left empty-handed above. He hits the ground running and does not look back, but he soon encounters a young woman hiding in the darkness, and he immediately draws his weapon to defend himself. He demands to know who she is and why she is following him. The girl stares him down, demanding he hand over the mysterious object. Jinquin keeps his grip firm on the device, refusing to hand it over. The young girl cries out for her dead brother while clutching the device like a lifeline. She laments her brother's foolish sacrifice just to buy her a coat of arms, calling out the brutality of their cannibalistic society as she breaks down in sorrow. Jinquin recognizes the look of absolute despair on her face from his own past, reminding him of refugees driven from their homelands during the wars of his previous life. He observes a woman in the distance carrying that exact same hollow expression. Seeing a whole group of displaced people who have lost everything in the dungeons, Jinquin realizes that anyone wearing that look is far beyond the hope of a simple rescue. They are survivors with no homes and no future, destined for nothing but further suffering. Noticing the girl's utter hopelessness, Jinquin decides to step in and intervene. He promises to act as her mercenary and protect her just as her brother intended. The girl questions his optimism, warning him that being a good person is a death sentence. She points to his hands, noting how long he has been exposed to the toxic rain. Explaining that this is the dead city where the rain eventually turns into lethal acid, the girl confirms that death is the only escape for those rotting in this rain. Jinquin finally grasps the grim reality of this decaying world. He presses for answers about the skull-masked enforcers and the region's true name. She identifies them as officers from the lower city, now known as the Third Dead City, confirming they are in the Flying Eagle Empire during the year 1000 of the Star Mark. Realization hits Jinquin hard as he confirms he has somehow traveled through time. He asks how these magic-wielding professionals are created in such a broken land, and she explains that anyone can awaken powers by obtaining a special emblem. Revealing the blood-stained emblem her brother stole just before his death, Jinquin asks if she has any other family left to turn to, but she admits that her brother was her only remaining relative. She explains that without his sacrifice, she has no way to survive as a professional. Jinquin acknowledges their shared misfortune as they bond over their grim circumstances. He declares that if he can survive, he will make sure she does too, but their quiet moment is shattered by a sudden, intense vibration. The hideout is under attack, forcing Jinquin to scoop the girl up and dash for cover. She frantically checks the emblem in her hand, desperate to wake it up before the enforcers break through. Peering through a lens at the artifact, she prays for a sign of life, but the relic falls to the floor with a hollow clatter, completely unresponsive. The girl stares at the inert object, feeling the weight of the encroaching threat. Jinquin realizes that either the emblem is rejecting her or she lacks the base qualifications to use it. She breaks down, mourning her brother's sacrifice and lamenting her own perceived worthlessness. Masked enforcers storm the room, closing the distance with lethal speed. They mock the pair for staying put instead of fleeing like cowards. The lead enforcer orders his squad to kill them both and secure the coat of arms. Jinquin senses the danger and realizes their time has completely run out. He grabs the girl and pulls her back to keep her away from the initial strike. Jamming the emblem against his own palm, he forces a connection to test his own potential. Waves of dark energy surge into his body as the system begins to process the transfer. His status updates in real time as the job transfer successfully completes. Jinquin fully integrates the emblem, and the system confirms his new status as a demon swordsman. Dark energy pulses through his veins as his eyes ignite with a cold, newfound intensity. Staring at the floating status screen, he realizes the sheer mechanical potential of this world. The girl watches in disbelief, confirming that the emblem found its perfect match in him. One of the masked enforcers screams in rage, charging forward to stop the unauthorized power usage. Green energy crackles from the attacker's side as he dives for a killing blow. She freezes in the path of the incoming weapon, completely caught off guard by the speed. Jinquin steps between them, catching the massive blade with his bare hand and stopping the strike cold. The attackers recoil in sheer panic as their coordinated assault is halted by a single hand. Spinning with lethal precision, Jinquin counters the opening with a blurred, high-speed maneuver. Darkness erupts from his blade as he launches a devastating counteroffensive against the squad. Realizing their target has already claimed the emblem's power, the enforcers frantically command their remaining forces to engage. Shrugging off their desperate attempts to intimidate him, Jinquin parries their blades with effortless grace. Shadow slashes tear through the air, sending the stunned attackers reeling back as they take heavy damage. Watching the tide of battle turn, the girl realizes Jinquin is far stronger than she ever imagined. Jinquin grips his blade, feeling the raw surge of energy coursing through his veins. The emblem's power has completely purged his injuries, leaving him feeling better than ever. Meanwhile, the surviving enforcers realize they are outmatched and panic about their inability to report back. Jinquin catches their intent and his gaze turns cold, closing the distance in a blur. He makes sure none of them leave the scene. Shadow strikes cut down the remaining threats before they can even draw their weapons. With the immediate danger eliminated, the girl urges him to leave before more enforcers arrive to investigate. Searching for an exit, Jinquin notes the wall is too high to scale easily. The girl reveals a secret path she has hidden away and gestures for him to follow. She pulls out a device to clear their path and the wall crumbles under the explosive force. Peering through the debris, they find the way forward and hurry to escape, guiding him toward a hidden staircase. She signals that they are finally in the clear. An hour later, they emerge into the quiet streets of the city. She leads Jinquin into her modest workshop, offering him a place to stay. Stepping inside, he notes the clutter but accepts that it is a functional hideout. The girl clears a space for Jinquin to sit, trying to make the cramped workshop feel hospitable. He looks around at the meager supplies and asks how she manages the shop alone. A shadow of grief crosses her face as she admits she lost her partner. Realizing he hit a nerve, Jinquin awkwardly apologizes for bringing up her brother. Their conversation halts when a heavy boot strikes the floor and a shadow looms in the doorway. The girl recognizes the intruder instantly and gasps that it is the dreaded warlord. The warlord ignores her fear, demanding to know if her brother mentioned their secret deal. Seeing her genuine confusion, the man realizes she was kept completely in the dark. He dismisses her importance and orders his subordinates to seize her immediately. The girl struggles as the enforcers drag her toward the exit. Jinquin steps in with a sharp command to stop. The warlord glares at the intervention, demanding to know who has the nerve to interfere. Jinquin fixes him with a cold stare and questions by what authority he claims her. The warlord laughs off the challenge, declaring his authority as the absolute law of the land. Jinquin uses his profession insight to analyze the man, noting that beneath the surface, the warlord is pure malice. Jinquin ignores the threats and demands to know the warlord's price for the girl. The warlord reveals the cost is a relic from pit number 1, a lethal mine filled with sand-devouring worms. Those creatures are nightmare fuel that turn everything they touch into nothingness. The warlord holds the girl hostage to force the deal, but he has not finished testing Jinquin yet. He suddenly launches a lightning-fast strike directly at Jinquin to gauge his worth. The force of the blow tears through the workshop air. The girl screams for Jinquin not to engage. Fearing he is walking into a death trap, Jinquin realizes the warlord is a second-order profession holder, so he grabs a simple iron rod to defend himself. The two clash in a blur of motion as the rod meets the warlord's strike. Sparks fly as Jinquin manages to parry the massive force. The warlord recognizes Jinquin's hidden potential, shocked that a rookie has true soul talent. The girl watches in total disbelief as Jinquin holds his ground against a second-order veteran. Jinquin asks if that performance qualifies him, but the warlord scoffs at his lack of rank while begrudgingly accepting the terms. The mission is set. Retrieve a specific flower from pit number 1 within a 3-hour window. The warlord signals the start of the countdown with a bizarre frog-themed display. The warlord drops the hammer, announcing that every male in the city over 16 must descend into pit number 1. Crushing a small frog under his boot to make sure everyone knows he's not joking about the lethal consequences, Jinquin realizes that Jin Meng's brother likely died in the pit after stealing an emblem intended for the lower district, and he wonders if this whole setup is a trap engineered by the commander to eliminate loose ends. Deciding he needs to master his abilities immediately to survive whatever is waiting for him down there, he focuses on his first talent, the Netherflame God statue, and calls forth its dual-colored energy. The power swirls and coalesces into a terrifying, shadow-like avatar that stands tall behind him. Jinquin tests the blade, noting that the second talent is still garbled and hard to interpret, even though the sword hums with a dangerous, latent energy that clearly should not be underestimated. He swings the weapon, accidentally slicing through the room's infrastructure with a single, precise motion, and watches as the structure collapses around him, proving his new strength is anything but subtle. Noticing his reflection in the debris, he realizes his current appearance is much fairer and more delicate than his past self. The system status window finally confirms his name as Diwu Jin Quan, clarifying that his surname is a compound, which explains the confusion he felt earlier about his own identity. Pushing past the identity crisis, he heads out into the night to gather intel on the coming trial. Half an hour passes while Diwu Jin Quan scouts out a rowdy bar, where he cornered a local informant to verify if the booze is free, and pivots the conversation immediately to the rumors surrounding pit number 1. But the informant just chuckles, explaining that the mine is a literal slaughterhouse because those sand-devouring worms do not just dig, they hunt and consume human flesh to nest. So Diwu Jin Quan presses for more details on the lethal conditions down there, and they toast to their grim luck before parting ways. While across town, young Master Li Hongyu throws a tantrum in his private meeting room, screaming about a missing profession emblem that he needs recovered at any cost, as his subordinates report that the thief escaped into the sewer system, and that they blew the tunnels behind them to scrub all traces of evidence. But Li Hongyu refuses to accept failure, demanding they scour every inch of the slums, ordering his men to hunt down every single person in the district if necessary. Because he believes someone in the trash heap is currently holding his stolen power. While his aide reminds him that the morning mining shift at pit number 1 is approaching, Li Hongyu insists that everyone boarding the mine train must undergo a scan. As the morning transport arrives to haul the workers toward their grim destination, and the guards start barking orders to pack the laborers onto the transport trucks, which creates a chaotic crush of desperate bodies fighting for space in the line. So Li Hongyu and his team arrive to oversee the security protocol personally, while he commands his subordinates to ensure that not a single soul slips past, because the Scavenger B2 sensor is specifically tuned to trigger on his stolen emblem's energy, which signals the start of a systematic search of every worker being loaded up, and Diwu Jinquan tries to navigate the throng while staying out of direct sight, keeping a sharp eye on the guards as they begin their ruthless inspection process. But the crowd is so tightly packed that he gets shoved violently toward the train, causing him to stumble through the mob as people scream about being crushed alive, while the guards ignore the pleas and keep forcing more bodies into the cramped space. Then a cloaked figure nearby reveals a dark, pulsating gem and watches him intently, which makes Diwu Jinquan sense an immediate chilling spike of malice in the air. The crowd is suffocating under the weight of the crush, and the air turns thin as laborers struggle just to draw a single breath, with guards shouting that 2 people have already been killed in the chaos. Suddenly a command rings out for everyone to stop moving, forcing Diwu Jinquan to raise his hands as all eyes fixate on him, while Li Hongyu steps forward to announce he is searching for a stolen family treasure, leading Diwu Jinquan to realize the missing emblem is definitely the target. Li Hongyu decides that if no one confesses, he will simply hunt it down himself, so a mechanical drone activates and begins its systematic sweep of the room, while it zeroes in on the crowd and starts scanning every individual, warning that anyone hiding the treasure will be killed on sight. Then the device passes over Diwu Jinquan and reports no spiritual energy detected, giving him a moment of relief as he realizes his own power signature remains hidden. But the machine continues its sweep, tracking through the panicked laborers, finally landing its sensor beam on a suspicious hooded man in the back. The sensor picks up a massive spiritual spike from the hooded man, and Li Hongyu immediately marks him as the thief he's been hunting, leaving the poor guy completely caught off guard as he realizes he's been exposed. But a drone strikes him down with a beam before he can even react, sending him reeling from the painful impact of the blast. Li Hongyu strides forward to corner him, demanding the return of his stolen emblem. Then he grabs the man by the collar to ensure he cannot escape, while the terrified suspect desperately hands over a strange crystal to save his own life. But Li Hongyu stares at the jagged object in disgust, realizing it's just a piece of junk before he crushes it into worthless dust. So he orders his men to continue the scan since this clearly was not his prize, leaving the falsely accused man sweating bullets while the crowd watches in silence. And Li Hongyu scowls, realizing he's still empty-handed despite all that violence, so he signals his team to move to the next transport car, fast-forwarding 5 hours until the train finally grinds to a halt inside the pit. The train has been rolling for hours, and Diwu Jinquan knows they have finally hit the pit, with a nervous laborer warning him that the red lights mean they are deep in monster territory. So they force the transport door open to make their escape before the guards catch them, jumping out while the train is still moving deep into the underground tunnel. And Diwu Jinquan hits the ground running, knowing he cannot afford a single second of delay, landing hard on the cavern floor before scouting the bizarre glowing landscape ahead, where the walls pulse with a strange, alien energy that he has never seen before, making him realize he is completely flying blind without a guide in this lethal mine. Then he detects a sudden shift in the air and prepares for an ambush, dashing forward to intercept the threat as a hidden attacker leaps out of the shadows, and he draws his blade to parry the incoming strike with blinding speed, forcing his assailant to stumble back from the sheer impact of the counterattack, while Diwu Jinquan calls out, tired of the games and demanding his enemy reveal themselves. But the thug just screams for him to die and lunges with a serrated weapon, so he blocks the desperate slash and realizes this guy is looking for a quick end. The attacker realizes he's way out of his league, and Diwu Jinquan slams him into the rocky floor with zero hesitation, pinning the guy down while he gasps for air in a blind panic. But the blade stops just inches from his throat as Jinquan prepares to finish it, so the thug immediately begs for his life and swears he had no choice, forcing Jinquan to pull back his weapon and demand some real answers, where the attacker identifies himself as Cheng Zio and admits he tried to kill him for food, so Jinquan digs for intel on how to actually gain a profession emblem down here, and Zio explains the brutal reality that the rich kids from the upper district use everyone as bait, warning that survival in pit number 1 is mostly about hiding or starving to death, which prompts Jinquan to ask about leveling up in such a hellish environment, but Zio insists the prisoners are just cannon fodder meant to serve as fertilizer, before a piercing shriek interrupts their talk as a massive creature dives from the shadows, revealing a red-blood mosquito at level 9 that immediately closes the distance, and Jinquan recognizes the threat as he draws his blade to face the swarm. Cheng Zio is already booking it, shouting that they're walking corpses if they stay. And his face says it all as he realizes the sheer scale of the danger, but Diwu Jinquan does not even flinch as he pivots to meet the incoming mosquito, cutting the high-level pest down in a single, clean strike that leaves the creature dead. So Cheng Zio stares in total disbelief, begging to be his right-hand man from now on. Yet Jinquan shuts him down cold, calling the guy dead weight as he walks away, and Cheng Zio is left behind scrambling to keep up while pleading for a second chance. But a sudden, massive surge of energy pulls Jinquan's attention back to the shadows, as a level 15 crystal orb Bugi erupts from the ground, dwarfing the previous threat, making Jinquan realize they are way out of their depth against this thing. So he lunges forward to shove Cheng Zio out of the monster's immediate reach, and Cheng Zio screams for help as the creature looms over him with murderous intent, but Jinquan is already moving to put himself between the bug and his guide. While the beast lets out a deafening roar that shakes the entire tunnel, forcing Jinquan to stand his ground against the massive armored monstrosity, Jinquan realizes the beast's thick armor is its only real advantage, and he lunges forward to exploit the creature's sluggish movement, slicing clean through the monster's crystalline shell with a precise strike, while his blade tears through the creature's defenses in a blur of motion. Finally ending the fight as the monster collapses under the sheer force of his attack, so the system confirms Jinquin has leveled up for killing a target 15 levels higher, confirming the theory that level gaps directly influence the quality of loot, because the fallen bug leaves behind a glowing green profession emblem, which grants the wearer increased strength and a chance to reduce incoming damage. But Jinquin is surprised to find an actual gear drop in this hellish pit. He immediately tries to equip the mysterious artifact to boost his stats, but a system error rejects the attempt due to his insufficient level, so he realizes that even the best gear has strict entry requirements, forcing him to shelve the emblem and focus on scouting the immediate area where dozens of glowing red eyes watch him from the shadows of the cave. Jin Quan spots a massive swarm of crystal ore bugs, and he realizes these high-level targets are perfect for his grind. So he draws his blade ready to turn the cave into his personal training room, before charging straight into the heart of the enemy formation, where he immediately downs a bug 9 levels above his own rank, and he continues the onslaught with a flurry of strikes, racking up kill after kill until his level-up progress hits the maximum efficiency as the system confirms his progress toward the Swordsman advancement requirements. While his blade slices through another carapace with effortless precision, and he uncovers a Beetle Knight profession emblem that boosts defense and survivability, then he notices a strange drop glowing amidst the carnage, but his celebration is cut short when a massive shadow looms over the cave because a level 25 crystal or bug king has arrived to end his fun, and the sheer scale of the tier 2 beast makes Jin Quan pause since this boss is clearly out of his league. Realizing the Bug King is way out of his weight class, Jin Quan decides to make a run for it, but he spots a pack of wild wolves prowling nearby and stops in his tracks. Realizing he can bait the predators against the boss, so he charges straight toward the Bug King with the wolves hot on his heels, and as he draws the boss's attention, the creature unleashes a torrent of toxic acid, missing Jin Quan completely but drenching the wolves in the process, which turns the pack absolutely feral as the acid sears their hides, prompting the wolves to turn their aggression away from him and onto the Bug King instead. And watching his plan unfold perfectly, Jin Quan wears a satisfied grin since the aggro transfer has successfully turned the boss into a target for the pack. The wolves swarm the crystalline monster, climbing its back and tearing at its joints, where one wolf manages to snap its jaws shut on a vital piece of the boss's armor, keeping the Bug King busy while Jin Quan circles to find his opening. And spotting the monster left completely exposed by the frenzied pack, he lunges forward with his blade drawn to strike the decisive blow. With the Bug King finally wide open, Jin Quan unleashes a brutal full-force strike, and the impact detonates against the monster's hide, ending the beast for good. His system interface confirms the kill while he notes that even at rank 2, he still needs more power. Realizing that without his calculated baiting strategy, he definitely would have taken some heavy hits, as he scoops up the loot drops, discovering a new pair of agility-boosting boots, along with a high-tier monostoring staff, though he tosses both aside since they do not fit his current build. But the celebration is cut short when a sudden violent commotion erupts nearby, forcing Jin Quan to pivot and scan the darkness for the source of the disturbance, where a swarm of winged creatures fills the cavern air with their screeching, prompting him to move toward the noise as he tries to make sense of the chaos, and hearing a desperate voice commanding the monsters to back off, just as a blinding flash of energy slices through the gloom to repel the encroaching shadows, making Jin Quan pause in recognition as the voice sounds eerily familiar, while he spots a survivor pinned down and firing away with a long-range rifle. Watching the man desperately struggling against the overwhelming odds as he runs out of options, the vampiric green bat kings have the survivor backed into a corner, so he pulls his rifle up to unleash a desperate volley of fire, choosing to go out fighting rather than waiting for his inevitable death. But his bullets fail to break through their defenses against the crushing pressure, and the monsters shrug off the assault like it was nothing but a nuisance. The survivor realizes his gear is completely countered by their speed and armor, refusing to give up even as the bats dive in for the finishing strike, closing the distance with terrifying speed that leaves no room to maneuver, screaming internally that he just wants to survive this hellish ordeal. Then a sudden blur of motion intercepts the strike before it can land. Jin Quan steps onto the ledge, casually greeting the man he just saved. The survivor stares in disbelief as he realizes Jin Quan just slaughtered the bosses. They share a quick nod of mutual respect while the tension finally breaks. Then Jin Quan offers to lead him out of the pit immediately, but a sudden ear-splitting roar echoes through the cavern, stopping them in their tracks. The evolved vampiric green bat king shrieks, announcing its arrival with a torrent of flames, and the survivor realizes they are in over their heads against a rank 2 monster. The boss lunges forward in a blur of fire, forcing them to scramble for cover. Jin Quan shoves the survivor out of the way just before a blast of heat hits. The two of them skitter across the cavern floor to find a better defensive position. Another massive wave of fire erupts, turning the ground where they stood into a furnace. Jin Quan tells the survivor to make a run for it while he draws aggro. The monster counters by launching a spiked ice formation, shattering the stone pillars nearby. The survivor refuses to leave, yelling that they have no chance against a fusion-type boss. Jin Quan just smiles, noting that a boss this strong is worth a massive experience boost. The Bat King charges again, its body crackling with raw, unstable elemental energy, dodging the strike. Jin Quan weaves through the flames with pinpoint precision. The survivor watches in absolute terror, convinced that his companion has lost his mind. Diwu Jinquan closes the distance, swinging his blade directly into the monster's path. The Bat King snaps its jaws, ready to tear through anyone foolish enough to get close. The clash sends shockwaves through the chamber, marking a clear jump in difficulty from the previous boss. Diwu Jinquan pushes his limits as the pressure mounts, and he finally triggers the Netherflame God's statue skill. Summoning a spectral armored titan that surges into the fray, the construct pierces the Bat King with a decisive burning strike, leaving the survivor stunned by the sight of the familiar blue flames, while he wonders how such a legendary power could manifest after centuries of silence, and he questions if a descendant of the Tianqi Empire's fallen line actually remains. Diwu Jinquan checks his status, noting that leveling up is slowing down despite the high-tier kill. Then the survivor approaches to thank him, desperate to learn if his savior is a true class holder, admitting he was once a powerful class holder himself before being stripped of his abilities, and he reveals he now relies on primitive weaponry just to scrape by in this hellhole. Diwu Jinquan processes the bombshell that a method exists to forcibly regress a class holder, but the survivor clarifies that such a fate is reserved for those who survive the process. Explaining that exposure to the lethal abyss poison can corrupt a talent and force a regression, the survivor starts detailing his royal lineage and the bitter power struggles of his past, but Diwu Jinquan shoots back with a sarcastic jab, calling him out for acting like the pot calling the kettle black, and the survivor looks genuinely caught off guard when he realizes Diwu Jinquan knows exactly who he is, so he shifts the topic to the legendary pioneer Qing Xuan, the only one to master the Holy Light Knight class and the SSS rank talent. Explaining that this ancient figure's signature power, the Netherflame God statue, has remained dormant and extinct for over 1,000 years, and Diwu Jinquan finally understands the true weight of his own hidden bloodline heritage, though the survivor admits the Tianqi Empire's current clan leaders have been pathetic, failing to awaken anything beyond a measly S-rank statue. Then the two men pause, letting the gravity of this lost history sink into the air around them. Until a dropped item catches their attention, Diwu Jinquan picks up the Bat King's blade, immediately identifying it as a rare piece of swordsman equipment, feeling the surge of potential as he grips the hilt, while the blade manifests in his hand with a sharp, vibrant glow, causing Diwu Jinquan to grin because the weapon feels balanced and ready for combat. So he decides it is time to put the blade's stats to the test, and he slashes through the air with a fluid, lethal motion. The Bat King's blade hums with raw speed as Diwu Jinquan tests its potential, and he realizes that fusing its speed bonus into his own weapon could be a game changer, so he holds the blades together and initiates the fusion process, while a brilliant cascade of energy welds the two distinct metals into one, causing Diwu Jinquan to marvel at the success of the upgrade, since the new blade pulses with significantly enhanced power. But his attention shifts when the survivor offers him a mysterious emblem, and the survivor warns that a lone wolf like him will not survive the wasteland for long, so he asks for the details of the deal the survivor is pushing, then learns the man is offering a legendary-grade heavy artillery controller emblem, which would grant long-range sniper capabilities and wide area destruction, leaving Diwu Jinquan to weigh the value of such a rare asset. As the survivor explains the hierarchy of emblems ranging from inferior white to mythic red, so the survivor proposes a trade, asking for a future favor in exchange for the legendary gear. Even though Diwu Jinquan threatens him with his blade for the audacity, the survivor reveals his family were the original owners of the hidden mine, and he promises to guide Diwu Jinquan to rank 3 with minimal risk. So Diwu Jinquan examines the map while asking what specific help is required, which the survivor explains involves forcing a pit rat to open an abyss fissure, because the creature will only trigger that portal if it feels sufficiently threatened, and Diwu Jinquan realizes he must first reach rank 3 to pull it off, so the survivor offers to lead him to the Resentment Spider Matriarch for training, even though the name of the creature clearly catches Diwu Jinquan off guard, since he specifically needs a resentment flower found in that restricted, dangerous zone, where the survivor points out that any low-level crawler is just feed for the beast, so Diwu Jinquan proposes a deal to hunt the spider in exchange for the map and intel, and they seal the pact with a firm handshake before heading deeper inside, entering the dark, treacherous depths of the mine as they hunt for their target, where the survivor warns about lethal, tail-swinging steel-tailed scorpions lurking nearby, and a stinger lashes out from the shadows without a second of hesitation. The survivor shouts a warning, forcing Diwu Jinquan to react instantly, who pivots and slashes through the air to intercept the incoming attack. A massive steel-tailed scorpion erupts from the earth with a deafening roar, and Diwu Jinquan orders the survivor to pull back, keeping him clear of the fight. Digging his boots into the stone, he launches a lethal counterstrike against the beast. The fused blade bites deep into the creature's armored plating with a violent spray, revealing that these scorpions drop valuable hemostatic hides perfect for emergency healing. But the survivor admits he has taken a wound and needs the supplies immediately. Suddenly, a second monster lunges at the injured man, pinning him down in the dust. Realizing the situation has turned critical, the survivor struggles to find an opening, while the giant scorpion prepares a lethal pincer strike to finish him off. Diwu Jinquan closes the distance in a blur, moving faster than the eye can follow, shouting for the creature to back away. He swings his blade in a massive arc, cutting through the scorpion's defenses to protect his ally from the fatal blow. Another wave of these monsters descends on their position, increasing the pressure tenfold. Diwu Jinquan tears through the swarm, forcing the scorpions to retreat, and he shouts for his ally to fall back while he holds the line alone. Lunging forward with calculated aggression to keep the monsters off balance, he carves a path through the crushing claws, moving with terrifying precision, and the system confirms a kill on a steel-tailed scorpion, bumping him up to level 16. Watching the experienced bar climb, Diwu Jinquan realizes these high-level threats are easier than expected, while his ally stares in disbelief, questioning if this raw output is truly standard for a Tier 1 professional. A sudden, eerie screech echoes from the shadows, catching them both off guard. The survivor warns him about the flower-mouthed insect king's regenerative vines which erupt from the ground, lashing out with a hunger that defies logic. But Diwu Jin Quan dodges the strike, closing the gap instantly, spotting the glowing amethyst on the creature's back. He prepares to end this, mocking the beast for leaving such a glaring weakness exposed. He drives his blade toward the core, ignoring the frantic thrashing of the vines. The creature bellows in a desperate final roar as the steel bites deep. The insect king collapses under the final blow, pushing Diwu Jin Quan to level 18. His companion watches the clean finish, baffled by the sheer precision of such a strange sword technique. Two rare crests drop from the carcass as they survey the spoils of their brutal grind. The loot includes a powerful flower-mouthed ring, granting him enhanced healing and a massive storage space. He also gains the Divine Radiance spell, a high-tier ability that heals allies while suppressing incoming damage. Curious about his combat potential, his ally asks if he possesses any specific debuffing skills. Diwu Jin Quan explains that his strikes naturally inhibit the recovery of living targets, noticing the way his blade causes monster flesh to simply melt away. His partner seeks an explanation. The swordsman attributes the effect to his unique talent bonus rather than any standard gear. His ally wonders if unequipping a crest would remove these bizarre properties, but he learns that crests are part of one's cultivation and cannot be traded or removed once they coalesce. Impressed by his specialized knowledge, his ally redirects him toward a Tier 3 lava behemoth lord up north. The path ahead is scorched and treacherous, leading them deeper into the volatile volcanic domain. His companion insists that killing the sleeping behemoth will yield lava fruit to bait the abyssal scythe rat. They arrive at the beast's lair, the heat radiating off the landscape becoming nearly unbearable. The massive Tier 3 lava behemoth lord looms ahead. A sleeping giant in the heart of the volcanic zone, his ally warns that despite the slumber, the creature's defense is legendary and nearly impenetrable. Diwu Jin Quan decides to test his luck, stepping forward with a calm, predatory grin on his face. He launches himself into the air, closing the distance to the beast in a single, fluid motion. His strike lands clean against the behemoth's armored hide, but the impact barely registers on the massive target. The creature remains unmoved and impenetrable as Diwu Jin Quan lands. Forced to acknowledge the sheer durability, he refuses to back down, drawing his blade and channeling every ounce of his combat intent into a follow-up. A blinding surge of power cuts straight through the monster's defenses, marking the first real crack in its armor. Beast reacts to the sudden, overwhelming damage, its colossal form beginning to buckle under the assault. With one final, devastating blast, the behemoth collapses, the sheer force of the blow shaking the entire cavern. The system confirms the kill, announcing that Diwu Jin Quan successfully one-shot a lord 21 levels above his own. His companion stares in utter disbelief as the impossible feat sinks in. Unable to process the level gap, golden loot drops materialize from the remains, signaling a haul of epic-tier proportions. Diwu Jin Quan inspects the spoils, finding Tier 3 orange epic equipment that exceeds his wildest expectations. The system displays the stats for the molten lava verdict weapon and chest plate, each piece promising massive stat boosts. The system confirms the new molten lava gear is equipped, providing substantial fortitude and defensive reflection perks. Diwu Jin Quan checks his status screen, seeing the level 20 cap still firmly in his way. Needing a swordsmanship emblem to break through, he stares at the screen while the reality of his progression wall sets in. His companion celebrates the rare molten lava fruit drop, convinced it's the key to changing their fortunes. Confirming his need for an emblem, Diwu Jin Quan presses for information on how to advance past his current limits. The survival expert explains that emblems only drop from monsters 5 levels higher, making the grind a high-stakes gamble. When asked about his preferred build, Diwu Jin Quan reveals he is leaning toward a high-speed agility focus. His ally pushes back, suggesting a constitution-based build might be more sustainable. Pointing out how constitution-heavy swordsmen struggle with low damage output, he argues that agility is the only viable path. The ally admits that Diwu Jin Quan's unique Netherflame God statue makes him an anomaly among standard fighters, noting that the statue's assault capabilities can offset the defensive weaknesses of a speed build. He encourages the change. Satisfied with this new direction, Diwu Jin Quan asks for the location of the next hunting ground. The partner identifies the Drywater Mines and the Ghostwood Valley as the best spots to track down emblems. They discuss the requirement of gathering 3 specific skills to reach rank 3, noting that rank 4 is currently out of reach. The scene shifts to the lower city where the stakes of the mission become increasingly clear. Young Master Li is losing his patience, threatening everyone in Redstone City if the search for the emblem fails. His advisor warns that finding the item in Deadman City is nearly impossible, especially with the 20-year closure looming. News arrives that a group of upper city elites has already moved to infiltrate the zone using local hires. The revelation hits young Master Li hard, as he demands an immediate halt to anyone entering without his direct permission. He realizes that any interference from the upper city will render his own investigation completely useless. Pure rage consumes him, his eyes glowing as the reality of the situation settles in. He decides to take matters into his own hands, his hand clenching as he prepares to act. A call goes out to his second uncle, demanding to know the current status of the target item. The uncle claims he is busy with a friend's birthday and will only be back in 2 days. Silence follows the demand to return immediately, leaving young Master Li holding a dead line. Frustration boils over because he refuses to wait while his rival closes in on the prize. He calls Fang Hui, ordering him to intercept the upper city group and defend the family's claim on the territory. But Fang Hui refuses to stick his neck out, insisting he has done nothing wrong and will not be made a scapegoat. Still, Fang Hui confirms that the passage is blocked, meaning the person with the emblem is definitely trapped inside Deadman City. Cutting the connection, Fang Hui leaves young Master Li to handle the mess on his own. Young Master Yan stares down his target, questioning if they can actually recover the item, while his elder companion reassures him that the family head expects success and they have time to spare. Noting the family head is already hunting in Elemental Holy City, where another emblem is rumored to be. Duo Jin Quan finishes off a high-level rhinoceros beetle with terrifying efficiency, offering the beast's horn to his ally since he has already secured the drop he needed. He turns his attention toward the glowing emblem, instantly tapping into its power. The energy surges through him as he activates the new technique, learning the Blade of the Arm Breaker skill, which allows him to charge targets with the speed of lightning. He absorbs the emblem's essence, feeling his own demon swordsmanship evolve. Power radiates from his body now that he has successfully mastered the rank 2 ability. He tests the move, slashing through the air with a massive dark arc of energy. The force of the strike obliterates everything in its path. His companion watches in awe at his rapid growth, though Duo Jin Quan remains focused on finding the next emblem to advance. They discuss the threat of bone-eating fish lurking in the nearby waters, pulling out a fishing rod to lure the creatures into the open. Duo Jin Quan uses the rhinoceros beetle meat as bait, and the line goes taut the moment he drops it into the depths. A level 23 bone-eating fish erupts from the water to meet them. The beast lunges with terrifying speed, forcing the pair into immediate combat, but the system signals that Duo Jin Quan has successfully advanced to Tier 2. Confirming the transition was surprisingly smooth for the talented swordsman, and his new skill, Blade of Ruin, gains a significant enhancement, burning with newfound power as he prepares to finish the fight. They take a moment to rest by the fire once the threat is neutralized, sharing a meal while they discuss potential future business ventures, though Duo Jin Quan grows curious about the true scale of their world. His companion explains that 3 major empires currently dominate the landscape, but Duo Jin Quan finds the political situation increasingly difficult to parse. Where survival often depends on whose thumb you live under, the conversation shifts toward the instability of the Flying Eagle Empire. Duo Jin Quan muses over the Wandering Era, a brutal time where the weak are nothing more than prey, and his companion suggests they steer clear of the tour groups currently flooding into the region. Especially since the Dead City Pit 1 has opened its gates to these opportunistic outsiders. While elsewhere 2 elites question the sudden accessibility of the pit, suspecting the Sand Devourer swarm has finally quieted down, the conversation turns sour when they spot young Master Li mocking him for the time he had his legs broken, and the insult clearly strikes a nerve, forcing Li to seethe in silence while being reminded of his public humiliation. Jai Linger suddenly cuts through the tension, ordering them to move out before the situation escalates further. Her icy demeanor brooks no argument as she leads the way, clearly intent on maintaining control. Meanwhile, Li remains hyper-focused on his secret mission to recover a specific hidden emblem before anyone else discovers it. Back in the field, Duo Jin Quan grills his companion about the nature of these tour groups, learning they are just thrill-seekers from the upper district. Deciding to capitalize on the chaos, they shift their focus to Ghostwood Valley to keep the leveling grind alive. The valley looms ahead, a treacherous landscape teeming with high-level threats perfect for their current goals. His companion warns that slicing blade mantises dominate these woods, making agility their most lethal asset. Handing over a bloodbud shock bomb, he explains it releases parasites that effectively cripple an enemy's mobility. Duo Jin Quan notes the strategy, realizing that once the mantis falls, the parasites will surge from its corpse to strip its defenses. Duo Jin Quan reveals his past as a blood-flesh mechanic, insisting he handle the parasites himself while wielding his modified firearm. His companion notes the grim irony of a man turned into a weapon after dying to monster attacks. Clarifying that the man is still a profession holder, Duo Jin Quan explains he refined the soul into a specialized ghostblood spear. He orders his partner to focus on killing the parasites to maximize their loot efficiency against the approaching monster lord. The slicing blade mantis launches a lethal ambush, but Duo Jin Quan anticipates the strike with lightning-fast reflexes. Sidestepping the razor-sharp blades, he prepares to unleash the full power of his Netherflame God statue. Blue energy erupts from the summon as Duo Jin Quan executes a devastating cross-slash. The creature's defenses shatter under the crushing impact of his blade, sneering at the insect's pathetic attempt to catch him off guard. He counters with overwhelming force. A clean decapitation ends the fight, triggering a system notification confirming a perfect kill efficiency. The Netherflame God statue manages to slice through the creature's hide, leaving Duo Jin Quan impressed by its sheer offensive output. His partner suddenly shouts for him to fall back as the creature's corpse undergoes a violent transformation. Purple tendrils of cursed energy erupt from the headless remains, swarming the area with lethal intent. Stepping into the fray, his companion levels his rifle to neutralize the spreading parasite infestation. Precision shots tear through the mass of writhing tendrils, purging the corruption with cold efficiency. His partner keeps the pressure on, confirming the rifle's cleansing effect is working perfectly. But Duo Jin Quan notices the forest floor vibrating as a massive swarm of mantises closes the distance. These slicing blade mantises are not holding back, Lunging forward with their serrated limbs aimed for the kill, drawing his blade, Diwu Jin Quan braces for the impact of the incoming hunters. The first mantis clashes against his defense with enough force to send him reeling. Realization hits that he's being surrounded from all sides by the aggressive pack. His partner yells a frantic warning to get out of the way before the mantises overwhelm their position. Diwu Jin Quan calls upon his trump card, summoning the ancient power of the Netherflame God statue. An ethereal barrier surges to life around him, deflecting the lethal strikes of the charging mantises, channeling his aggression into a counterattack. He unleashes a wave of power at the surrounding swarm. Blades of energy carve through the attackers, netting him a massive experience gain for the 3 high-level kills. Residual tendrils of darkness whip through the air. But the statue's aura keeps him protected from the corruption. His partner watches the carnage with relief, noting that those reflexes were more than enough to handle the threat. Just as they catch their breath, Diwu Jin Quan spots another massive threat lurking in the brush. Dropping his guard for only a split second, he senses the final mantis preparing a desperate strike. The rending blade mantis king lets out a final, desperate roar before collapsing from the lethal wound. But Diwu Jin Quan has no time to celebrate because a fresh pack of mantises swarms over the hill. He draws his blade with precision and lunges straight into the center of the incoming wave. Channeling his earthrending slash, he carves a massive arc of destruction through the front line. The impact tears through the mantis vanguard, leaving them completely vulnerable to follow-up strikes. Seizing the opening, he maneuvers around the disoriented foes to deliver a fatal blow. Blade work turns into a blur of motion as he systematically dismantles the remaining scouts. System notification confirms he has hit level 22, and he reflects on his talent's infinite cutting power. That momentum carries him forward into a high-speed dash as he closes the distance to the next threat. Suddenly, a massive hidden boss emerges from the shadows, dwarfing the previous mantises in both size and aura. He barely dodges a lethal counterstrike. Realizing the boss had been masking its true presence until now, his partner yells for him to deploy the explosive device. Knowing they need a massive distraction to survive. Catching the projectile midair, Diwu Jin Quan prepares to prime the detonator against his own blade. The boss lunges with razor-sharp claws, but the explosion detonates right in its sensory organs. Concussive force ripples through the air as the beast staggers back from the unexpected blast. The rending blade mantis king is completely bound by the trap, leaving it helpless for just a moment. Diwu Jin Quan's partner shouts for the final strike, knowing this is their only window to end the fight. Leaping high into the air with his blade drawn, Diwu Jin Quan lines up a perfect execution. A massive crimson slash connects with the immobilized king, carving through its defenses with overwhelming force. The system confirms the kill on the high-level threat, and Diwu Jin Quan checks his own status as he hits level 23. Glowing drops of loot appear in the clearing, signaling the end of the valley's boss encounter. The system reveals the Flying Wing 3-stage slash, a powerful Tier 3 skill that emphasizes speed and mobility. Another rare drop, the Demonic Wing 3-stage slash, provides a devastating fan-shaped area attack that ends in an explosive thunderbolt. Holding the final required emblems, Diwu Jin Quan realizes he is finally ready to push toward the rank 3 evolution. The duo takes a moment to acknowledge the win, with Diwu Jin Quan giving credit to the monster for the massive experience boost. Surveying their gear, Diwu Jin Quan notes his weapon has evolved alongside his growth. His partner mentions that he is only one level away from his goal, putting their next objective in clear view. Considering the best way to bridge that final gap, Diwu Jin Quan looks for targets that are dangerous but manageable. The pair sets off toward a new hunting ground, determined to keep their momentum rolling. Standing before a herd of spinel-horned oxen, Diwu Jin Quan observes that these Tier 3 monsters are usually passive and less provoked. The spinel-horned oxen are absolute tanks that can wipe out any player below Tier 3 with a single group buff. Diwu Jin Quan asks for the best strategy to handle them, and his partner suggests using the natural terrain to their advantage. Pioneers usually rely on Earth-type mages to create traps, but since they lack those resources, they decide to carve holes into the rock wall. The plan is to bait the herd into charging, then hide in the caves to dodge their devastating Warstomp skill. Diwu Jin Quan orders his partner to stand back as he prepares to draw his blade and start the engagement. Moving with lethal precision, he carves deep gouges into the stone wall to create his makeshift shelter. The herd stands nearby, oblivious to the trap, so his partner signals the start of the hunt. Raising his specialized rifle, his partner takes aim at the lead bulls to draw their attention. A massive blast of energy erupts, instantly grabbing the attention of every beast in the vicinity. The bulls let out a deafening roar as they lock onto their targets and prepare for a full-scale assault. Thundering across the plains, the entire herd charges toward Diwu Jin Quan with terrifying speed. His partner warns that the stampede is closing in fast and tells Diwu Jin Quan to hold his ground. Diving into the carved rock cavity, Diwu Jin Quan trusts his defensive gear to withstand the impact. The lead oxen slam into the terrain, triggering their earth stomp ability and shaking the very foundation of the cliff. Dust and debris fill the air as the herd crashes into the wall. But Diwu Jin Quan remains safely tucked away. Diwu Jin Quan breathes a sigh of relief knowing he narrowly avoided becoming a pancake. His partner lines up a shot with a long-range rifle. Noting that the spinel bulls are finally vulnerable after their exhausting skill usage, the herd surges forward in a frenzied mass, completely unaware that their window of opportunity has slammed shut, unleashing a devastating earthrending slash. Diwu Jin Quan carves a path directly through the front line. Crimson spray fills the air as the strike connects with lethal precision. Momentum carries him forward into the fray as he follows up with a lightning-fast blade of ruin. 2 consecutive strikes tear through the remaining monsters before they can even react to the sudden assault. His partner watches in complete disbelief, admitting that even at his own peak, he could not keep pace with this level of ferocity. Despite his own SSS-ranked talent and mythic-class gear, he realizes he is entirely outclassed by the display. Diwu Jin Quan finishes the remaining bulls with cold, efficient movements. The system pings that he has officially hit level 29, leaving the battlefield littered with fallen beasts. His partner cannot help but marvel at the carnage, wondering if such a display of power would even be tolerated by the local lords. The partner clarifies that this territory is under the control of the Descentier matriarch. Diwu Jin Quan ignores the politics to point out that the corpses are packed with valuable detoxification material. His partner immediately starts harvesting the rare Spinel bezoars. Diwu Jin Quan and his partner realize the mountain of Spinel bezoars they just harvested will fetch a fortune at the Tian Consortium, but the lingering stench of blood draws their attention to the immediate danger. Knowing he is only one level away from his class advancement, Diwu Jin Quan anticipates a massive wave of incoming threats, so he decides to push forward and navigate through the treacherous terrain, quickly gathering the essential swordsmanship emblems left behind by the fallen herd. Their path leads them toward a mysterious, glowing passage deep in the cavern. Diwu Jin Quan reveals his target is a refuge nest in the central feeding zone, explaining that the silver-thread silkworm stores massive amounts of prey underground, offering them an easy path to farm experience. Just as they approach, a massive high-speed train tears through the desolate wasteland. Inside, a man named Liu boasts to young Master Zhu about his family's construction business and their current land reclamation mission. Zhu Jiangxing dismisses the small talk, keeping his focus strictly on the objective, while the rest of the group remains oblivious to the world outside the carriage. The man named Zhao Liubai stares out the window, clearly agitated and bored by the long journey. Noticing the train passing by, Diwu Jin Quan and his partner are stunned by the sudden, out-of-place arrival of modern transport in this hellhole. The train slows down as if reacting to their presence. Zhao Liubai spots Diwu Jin Quan outside and immediately recognizes his former target, confirming his suspicion to his associates that the man he thought was dead is actually alive. Ignoring his comrade's confusion, Zhao Liubai abandons his seat to pursue the figure he just saw, leaping from the moving train into the dark wilderness to close the distance. But the dust settles on an empty patch of ground, leaving Zhao Liubai frustrated and alone. His fellow Giant Shui members catch up to ask what caused his sudden outburst. Zhao Liubai remains suspicious, wondering why someone of Diwu Jin Quan's supposed status would hide in the lower district. Meanwhile, Diwu Jin Quan and his partner retreat into the tunnels, discussing the wealthy stranger from the train. Diwu Jin Quan reveals that the man belongs to the Tian conglomerate, a family hiding a secret third mythical profession elsewhere. A mysterious sign channels a dark, crackling energy to synchronize with their hidden power, but the environment shifts violently as Diwu Jin Quan and his partner trigger a hidden trap. Razor-sharp threads snap taut around them, suspending the pair in midair and immobilizing their movement. Diwu Jin Quan realizes they have walked straight into a silver-thread silkworm ambush. Giant hanging cocoons surround them, packed with the high-level resources needed to hit level 30. Shaking off the initial shock, Diwu Jin Quan activates his internal power to break the bindings. Diwu Jin Quan unleashes a torrent of energy, ordering his partner to wipe out the surrounding insect horde. He lunges forward with his blade, cutting through the encroaching monsters with surgical precision. The system floods his screen with kill notifications, confirming he has taken down high-level poison stinger beetles and mucus worms. Despite the massive slaughter, Diwu Jin Quan remains focused, noting he is still shy of the level cap. His partner vaults over a web structure to avoid the carnage, narrowly dodging a stray blade strike. Shouting over the din, the partner warns that they need to locate the silver-thread silkworm itself. Diwu Jin Quan scans the cavern walls, intensely searching for the elusive creature. His companion explains the web is a warning system, meaning the boss will return the moment they trigger the threads. Ignoring the risk, Diwu Jin Quan weaves through the deadly traps with effortless grace. He assumes a battle stance, drawing his blades as the air pressure in the cave shifts. Suddenly, the massive silver-thread silkworm erupts from the shadows, screeching at the intruders. The creature towers over him, its body pulsating with a dangerous, rhythmic energy. Diwu Jin Quan tracks its movements, watching the beast prepare a lethal strike. His partner screams a warning, but Diwu Jin Quan already has the monster in his sights. He orders his partner to hang back, insisting he can handle this solo. The creature lets out a piercing shriek as Diwu Jin Quan drives his blade home, and the system confirms the lord-rank silver-thread silkworm is dead with perfect efficiency. Finally hitting level 30 for Diwu Jin Quan, though the advancement requirement demands even more, so he explains his plan to his partner, setting his sights on the abyssal Kametachi, targeting its unique sensory abilities to force an opening into the dangerous abyss channel, with a strategy to bait the Sand Devourer and Spider Mother into a three-way collision. But his partner worries about surviving the lethal depths of the abyss alone. So Diwu Jin Quan hands over a rare legendary profession emblem as a gesture of faith, insisting that he needs the partner to remain functional for their long-term goals. And with the plan solidified, they move out to prepare for their next major raid. Meanwhile, a separate group of hunters wanders into the clearing where the battle just ended, confused by the total lack of monster activity in such a dangerous territory. Until one of them spots the massive, motionless corpse of the giant mawworm nearby, and they all freeze in their tracks at the sight of the carnage. Realizing the beast was taken down in what looks like a single, decisive strike, the rival hunters inspect the giant mawworm, noting the surgical precision of the sword wounds. So young Master Li decides to cut his losses and pivot toward the molten giant instead. But they arrive at the site only to find the massive, heavily armored creature lying dead, leaving the group scrambling to comprehend how anyone could bypass such legendary defensive stats. One member draws his blade to investigate the corpse's integrity for himself, and his knife snaps instantly upon contact with the impossibly hardened, fire-forged skin, proving that the kill required power far beyond their current understanding of Tier 3 limits. Which sparks a tactical debate about whether even a mythic class could pull this off. The realization hits that the molten giant's blood is bound to the surrounding lava lake, causing an aide to urge young Master Li to retreat before they run into a Tier 9 powerhouse. They weigh their options but ultimately decide that hunting the original target is a lost cause. However, young Master Li refuses to leave empty-handed while there are still unknowns to explore. Meanwhile, a series of tremors signals that the terrain itself is shifting under the pressure. Duo Jin Quan emerges from the chaos. His blade already painted in the blood of his latest kill, the system confirms the Crimson Tumor Worm is down as he continues his relentless pace. Duo Jin Quan dodges the massive strike as the Crimson Tumor King lunges with lethal intent. His partner fires a precision shot to warn him, shouting that the beast is closing in. The energy blast from the rifle tears through the air, forcing the creature to shift its trajectory. An earth-shaking roar echoes through the tunnel as the king prepares for another brutal assault. Duo Jin Quan taunts the monster for its reckless aggression and charges straight into the fray. Their forces collide with enough intensity to warp the surrounding space. The system confirms the kill as the Crimson Tumor King falls, granting Duo Jin Quan maximum efficiency for the level gap. He sighs at the abysmal drop rate, noting how brutal this grind is for any average adventurer. His partner offers to scout ahead toward the Sand Devourer's nest while he takes a moment to consolidate his gains. Duo Jin Quan channels his energy, finally hitting the milestone that unlocks his true potential. Flames erupt around him as he prepares to equip the powerful Molten Set. The legendary armor manifests, enveloping him in an aura of pure, concentrated heat. His partner watches, completely floored by the sudden, massive spike in his combat power. A spectral tiger and serpent manifest behind him, signaling that his stats have shattered the 100-star threshold. Duo Jin Quan flexes his new gear, feeling his strength multiply several times over in an instant. Duo Jin Quan hears from his partner that his 100-star threshold is an absolute flex, explaining that the tiger and elephant patterns manifesting around him are clear proof of his elite stats. So they decide to move out together to track down the Sand Devourer's nest, pushing deeper into the wild as they prepare for the next phase of his advancement. An hour later, they reach a dense, overgrown forest area. Both men struggle to catch their breath in the suffocating air, but they finally track down the exit. The ground ahead is littered with a massive, disturbing pile of bones, confirming this is the primary hunting ground for the dangerous abyssical rats. Duo Jin Quan turns to his partner to coordinate their next tactical move, pulling out a piece of molten fruit to bait the creatures. The partner secures the fruit onto a mechanical trap, noting that these rats are obsessed with this fruit and will definitely be drawn to the smell. They set the bait and retreat to a hidden vantage point, watching from the shadows as they wait for the trap to spring. The mechanical device pulses, radiating an alluring scent into the clearing. The mechanical lure stands ready in the clearing. Duo Jin Quan and his partner analyze the trap, noting how the fire element within the fruit forces the elusive abyssical rats to reveal their position. The device hums with energy as the bait sits exposed. Detection triggers as a target locks onto the fruit. The bait is suddenly snatched from the machine. Duo Jin Quan spots the movement but stays his hand, keeping his partner from rushing in too early. Gravity shifts as the fruit is hauled away. The fruit vanishes into thin air while the surrounding area remains eerily quiet. Confidence radiates from his partner, who signals the moment of truth. Fire erupts instantly as the abyssical rat takes the bait, striking at the perfect opening. Duo Jin Quan launches himself forward, channeling his 100-star strength. He summons a massive spectral projection of power. The blade descends with crushing force. Flames coat the creature while it lets out a piercing shriek. His partner watches the carnage unfold, anticipating a clean kill. The fire clears, but the abyssical rat has vanished from the blast zone. Duo Jin Quan scans the area, confused by the creature's sudden retreat. His partner warns that these beasts are notoriously cunning and likely still nearby, pulling out a specialized grenade to flush the target out of its hiding spot. The duo charges forward as the device detonates, scattering flames across the terrain. Massive sand-devouring worms emerge, triggered by the fire to douse the flames. These gargantuan insects thrash about in a frenzy of movement. Their frantic behavior reveals the hidden abyssical rat trying to avoid the chaos. The worms swarm around the area, inadvertently exposing the prey they were meant to protect. Duo Jin Quan realizes the grenade's fire effect forced the worms to intervene. An insect lunges directly toward the fire, creating an opening in the sand. More worms converge, clashing against each other in the confined space. The abyssical rat loses its stealth advantage as the environment turns against it. Spotting the exposed target, Duo Jin Quan channels his 100-star aura, lunging forward with a lethal strike aimed straight at the creature's throat. The blade connects and the abyssical rat hits the ground for good. System notification confirms a 7-level jump and perfect efficiency for Duo Jin Quan. But the victory is cut short as the gate begins to warp and destabilize. Realizing the gate closure is tied to the beast's death, he knows he's on a clock. A dark, shadow-cloaked bird suddenly manifests from the rift to watch them. Duo Jin Quan stares down the entity while the gate continues its violent shift. Reaching for his gear, he prepares for whatever fresh hell is about to emerge. His partner speaks up and reveals his own hidden connection to the supernatural. The red-haired man claims the Abyss Commander talent, showing off his unique class emblem, identifying the dark bird as his guard officer. He confirms his role in this chaos with the gate forced open. He offers Duo Jin Quan the final stretch of the path, acknowledging the favor. The swordsman insists on tackling the rest of the journey solo. They exchange a quick promise to form a proper group if both survive the trek, laughing off the danger. The partner agrees to let Diwu Jinquan take the lead. With a final nod, they part ways knowing the road ahead is strictly one way. The Abyss commander waves goodbye, leaving the swordsman to face the unknown alone. Diwu Jinquan steps into the swirling gate and enters the mysterious new dimension. A sudden, sharp slash of energy cuts through the air, catching him off guard. Sensing danger nearby, he instinctively reaches for his gear to prepare for a fight. His system identifies the lucky gold coin, a rare item that boosts drop rates and enables dimensional leaps. Examining the glowing prize, he realizes this could be the edge he needs to get stronger. Channeling his focus into the coin, he activates its potential to see what destiny holds. Aura flares around his body as his luck stat surges, readying him for the hunt. Spotting a pack of massive worm monsters, he charges in to test his improved drop rates. The beasts roar and lunge, but he meets their aggression with a flurry of strikes. A system notification confirms the lava splash trigger is active, igniting his blade with fire. Flames erupt with every swing as he cuts through the monsters. Confirming his luck is paying off, clearing the immediate threat, he keeps his eyes fixed on the path ahead. Checking his map, he confirms the location of the resentful spider matriarch's den. The icy, cavernous nest looms ahead, filled with terrifying frozen sculptures of past victims. The scouting party surveys the resentful spider nest, unimpressed by the frozen victims trapped in ice. Leader Zhu dismisses the artistic value of the sculptures, but his subordinate sees a lucrative opportunity for a future exhibition. Planning to strip the frozen monsters as decorations once they finish off the matriarch, the group maps out their loot. Zhu approves of the plan but warns them to stay professional and keep the goods intact for the market. The rest of the elite crew joins the conversation, armed and ready to treat this high-level hunt like a routine extraction. Questions arise about why Faye skipped this mission, prompting Zhu to reveal his brother has already ascended to Tier 4. This level 3 dimension is beneath those elite experts, which explains why the scouts feel like they have no real competition. The female lead reminds the squad that regardless of their personal goals, the matriarch remains the primary objective. Calling for the signal to start, Zhu commands his lackeys to prepare the bait for their grand opening. A group of human thralls is forced into the icy tunnels, driven forward by the scouts with whips and threats. They shove the captives into the cave entrance, using them as sacrificial fodder to draw out the nest's boss. The thralls disappear into the dark tunnel, while the scouting party waits in position to ambush whatever follows. Zhu orders his team to hold the line at the entrance, ensuring they can claim the kill the moment it emerges. A massive purple aura blast tears through the entrance, obliterating the path instead of the scouts' expected prey. Diwu Jinquan steps into the chaos, his sword glowing with lethal energy as he revels in the chance to finally cut loose. Diwu Jinquan locks onto the spiders, forcing them to retreat under his relentless pressure. His blade tears through the icy air with a violent, glowing slash, and the spider shrieks as the steel bites deep into its reinforced exoskeleton. The girl from the scouting party recognizes his legendary Bloodrage warrior class. While Diwu Jinquan revels in the combat, craving the scent of fresh blood, he pivots midair to land another clean strike against the encroaching swarm, tossing his opponent aside like it weighs absolutely nothing. And the scouts realize the gravity of the situation as the true boss finally emerges. The resentful spider matriarch looms over the frozen battlefield with terrifying force. Diwu Jinquan does not hesitate for a second, charging straight into the danger zone. His aura flares into a crimson armor, signifying his full power is finally active. And he begins to toy with the massive arachnid, testing the limits of its durability. The matriarch tries to lash out with its massive claws, but Diwu Jinquan weaves through the deadly limbs with lethal precision. He taunts the beast, demanding it break under his overwhelming physical strength. Diwu Jinquan slams his fist into the matriarch, sending the creature skidding across the ice. He follows up with a massive energy blast that shatters the surrounding frozen terrain. Standing amidst the wreckage, he watches the dust settle with cold anticipation, and Zhu Jiangxing looks on from the shadows, his eyes narrowing as the power gap becomes undeniable. The resentful spider matriarch recovers instantly, screeching as it prepares for a counter-offensive. Diwu Jinquan laughs, embracing the intensity of the fight as his aura flares into a crimson blaze. A deafening roar echoes through the cavern as the beast releases a wave of dark energy. Zhu Jiangxing's men panic and open fire with heavy artillery, trying to desperately regain control. The flames wash over the battlefield, but the matriarch ignores the projectiles entirely. Diwu Jinquan vaults over the inferno, closing the distance to the monster in a single leap. He channels his inner strength for a decisive strike, calling out his signature mad blood decapitation. His blade descends with terrifying force, slicing deep into the matriarch's armored hide. The massive creature crashes into the ground, its defenses finally buckling under the weight of the blow. Diwu Jinquan lands gracefully, mocking the fallen boss for being nothing more than a glorified hurdle. He declares his dominance over the new generation, his confidence radiating with every word. Diwu Jinquan stands over the defeated creature, but the loot drop is pathetic. He curses the measly 2 blue emblems, wondering where the high-tier rewards actually are. The scouts watch from a distance, their presence finally making themselves known to the victor. Zhu Jiangxing mocks Diwu Jinquan for thinking a mere gatekeeper was the true boss, ordering his men to hold back because the real fisherman has yet to reveal his hand. The blue emblems clatter across the ice, useless junk in the face of the actual threat. Diwu Jinquan kicks the ground in frustration, still blinded by his own arrogance. One of the scouts identifies the fallen beast as a frost guardian, not a matriarch. Realization dawns on the group that a domain lord must be lurking nearby. Panic ripples through the scouts as they scramble to escape before the real monster appears. The ground shakes violently, signaling that something far more dangerous is closing in. Shadows of massive arachnids loom over the party, their presence crushing the air. An entire army of spiders crawls out from the dark, sealing off every exit elsewhere. A new figure enters the domain, completely unaware of the chaos unfolding behind him. Checking his notes, he confirms his goal is to secure the clear resentment flower. Calculating the environmental hazards of poison, ice, fire, and wood, the intruder realizes the molten lava set provides the ultimate elemental advantage, charging headlong into the nest. He decides it is finally time to get a good look at the challenge. Catching sight of the encroaching spider swarm, his focus sharpens as he recognizes the scale of the threat, mocking the mobs for targeting him. He welcomes them as easy prey, summoning a massive blue spectral warrior. He unleashes a devastating wave of power that instantly clears the front line. Seeing their kin obliterated, a massive spider boss lets out a deafening roar, lunging forward with his blade. He shatters the creature's defenses in a single strike, cutting through the monstrosity. He proves the boss is hardly a match for his current strength. Watching the carnage from afar, the other scouts realize their situation has spiraled completely out of control. Panic sets in as they contemplate their inevitable doom. Meanwhile, a separate squad focuses on escorting their mysterious female leader through the danger zone. One guard raises a heavy launcher, ready to clear a path through the wall of spiders. Firing a massive explosive round, he blows a hole through the arachnid ranks. The guards manage to flip a spider, urging their leader to sprint past the opening before it closes. Catching sight of a new, even larger threat emerging from the shadows, the leader shouts a warning to the team. The massive spider boss looms over the squad, its aura of pure malice forcing them to stand their ground, lunging forward with terrifying speed. The beast targets the center of the formation. The squad members scream in panic as the creature closes the distance. Jialinger realizes they are completely outmatched by this monster's raw power. A mysterious blonde combatant suddenly blitzes into the fray with his blades drawn. He slashes through the spider's guard, forcing the massive beast to recoil, calling out to Jialinger. The stranger demands she stop holding back and fight. She summons a legendary mountain tank, which crashes onto the field with a deafening boom. The tank unleashes a concentrated energy blast, slamming directly into the creature's armored shell. Onlookers watching from a distance gape in awe at the sheer destruction caused by the summon. Terrified survivor huddled in the corner mutters to himself, desperate to escape the carnage. He tries to scramble away but is immediately caught in the crossfire of the battle. The spider boss recovers, letting out a deafening roar as it prepares to crush the remaining survivors. Ice spikes erupt from the ground, encasing the nearby guards in a frozen tomb. Ignoring the casualties, the blonde fighter lunges again, desperate to force a path through the beast's defenses. The blonde fighter pushes his speed to the limit, closing the distance to the spider boss, but the beast counters with a massive ice shard, forcing him to take a direct hit. He barely deflects the blow, though the sheer force of the impact leaves him reeling. Meanwhile, the mysterious woman realizes the ground beneath them is shifting dangerously. A massive tremor rocks the nest, and the surrounding guards are instantly caught in the debris. The Ice Spider Domain Lord emerges from the shadows, revealed at level 45. Icy energy flares around the boss as it prepares to unleash a devastating area attack. Its deafening roar shakes the entire chamber, signaling the start of a final assault. Guards are shredded by the sudden onslaught, screaming as they fall to the beast's power. The blonde fighter and his companion decide they cannot win this war of attrition. Deciding to retreat, he unleashes a final strike to clear a path through the ice. Xia Yin steps in, revealing that she brought high-grade explosives to bypass the seals. Spotting the exit just ahead, the blonde fighter urges his companion to make a break for it. But Xia Yin turns back, tossing a hidden device toward young Master Zhu. The explosive detonates on contact, throwing Zhu into the path of the encroaching flames. The explosion sends young Master Zhu spiraling toward the ground. But he barely manages to steady himself as the shockwave ripples through the cave. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms overhead as the boss lunges, closing in with lethal intent, and the monster's claws rake through the space where he was just standing. Meanwhile, Xia Yin's does not even glance back as she retreats into the frozen tunnels, leaving the distant battlefield behind. Two scouts watch from the shadows. These observers realize neither of the fleeing figures matches their high-priority target, so they decide to split up to track them down, hoping to catch the real prize. While back at the nest, a dark blade carves through the air, claiming the Woodvine Spider Lord. The system registers the kill and drops a haul of rare blueprints for potions and gear. Diwu Jinquan stands amidst the wreckage, his sword humming with residual energy. Muffled cries for help echo from deeper within the cavern. The swordsman turns his head to locate the source of the desperate plea. Racing toward the commotion, he discovers a swarm of spiders closing in on a trapped survivor. Diwu Jinquan closes the gap in a blur, his aura flaring as he readies his strike. Diwu Jinquan unleashes a ruinous slash, cutting through the swarm with brutal efficiency. The blue energy tears across the cavern, decimating every creature in its path. A system notification confirms he just wiped out an ice spider 10 levels above him. The survivor watches in disbelief as the high-level threat falls to this mysterious stranger. Diwu Jinquan checks if the man is still capable of standing. The stranger thanks him, clearly shaken by the sheer power he just witnessed. Wondering if Diwu Jinquan actually cleared the entire nest alone, the survivor gets a cold answer. He realizes sticking with this powerhouse is his only real shot at surviving the cave. The guy begs to follow him, offering to do anything just to stay under his protection. Diwu Jinquan dismisses the man's desperate groveling, and then he pivots, sensing a massive energy spike ripping through the ice behind them. The survivor looks up in total confusion, but Diwu Jinquan grabs him by the collar to yank him out of harm's way. A massive blade of force cleaves the spot they were standing on just a heartbeat ago. The survivor stares at the destruction, realizing how close he just came to death. Diwu Jin Quan locks onto the incoming swarm of Frost Guardians, his eyes scanning the massive horde closing in from all directions, telling the terrified survivor to stay back as he prepares to engage. He launches himself directly into the heart of the enemy formation, warning the kid not to get in the way of his leveling. His blade erupts with the demonic wing three-stage slash, carving through the ranks of spiders with lethal precision. Limbs and icy shards fly as he tears through their defenses. Diwu Jin Quan weaves between the massive pincers with impossible speed, executing a clean sweep that leaves the monsters completely shattered. A rare emblem drops from the wreckage of the fallen guardian. The survivor watches in disbelief as the high-level monsters crumble like paper. Picking up the epic-grade Solar Judgment emblem from the ground, the system confirms he has finally hit level 35 in the chaos. Deciding to activate the emblem immediately to boost his sword mastery, Diwu Jin Quan confirms the skill activation, and a massive otherworldly energy surge erupts across the battlefield, revealing the Lord of the Evil Blade, Urks, standing over a shackled 12-winged angel who declares his intention to execute the captive to display his absolute authority, while unleashing a devastating blade strike that cuts through the very fabric of reality, sending a shockwave of lethal force tearing through the domain. As the captive angel screams out in the face of imminent destruction, and Diwu Jin Quan realizes this is not just a skill but a haunting memory of the world, as the system describes the legendary Great Judgment that inflicts terror and total loss of control, leaving Diwu Jin Quan and his companion realizing just how broken this new ability really is. While the companion admits he's terrified and clearly picked the wrong person to follow, but they are forced to dive for cover as the lethal energy slash tears the ground apart, and the group scrambles to put distance between themselves and the incoming chaos, until they spot a mysterious disturbance appearing just ahead of them, making them panic about potential monsters lurking in their blind spots. Lethal tentacle lashes out from the shadows, narrowly missing Diwu Jin Quan as he identifies the hidden trap, but the monster drags his companion into its writhing grasp, so Diwu Jin Quan reacts instantly by hurling his sword, which cleaves through the creature's vine to free his teammate, and the severed limb sprays toxic ichor across the ground, letting the duo land safely while the beast recoils, yet they barely have a second to breathe before a new threat appears. Because two men emerge from the mist and press knives to their throats, demanding they freeze and surrender without a fight, and the attackers stand over them with cold, calculated intent until their leader steps forward to offer them a choice, while Diwu Jin Quan recognizes the man as young Master Zhao, who demands to know exactly why they were being followed, so the terrified captives explain they belong to the Black Dragon Gang. Diwu Jin Quan presses the thugs to reveal exactly what they are so terrified of, and the terrified men choke out the name of their true masters, pointing the finger at the Shengwei conglomerate and the powerful Fang family, which confirms Diwu Jin Quan's suspicion that they are hunting the mysterious unknown emblem. So he summons his weapon in a flash of dark energy, while the thugs beg for their lives and swear their loyalty to young Master Zhao. But Diwu Jin Quan ruthlessly strikes them down without a second of hesitation, leaving one of the men completely baffled by the sudden, brutal execution, and yet he finds himself miraculously healed by a mysterious spell as he falls, while Diwu Jin Quan coldly orders the survivor to report his identity to the masters behind this plot. So the surviving thug scrambles away in relief, but Zhao's own men question why he would let a potential witness escape. Diwu Jin Quan merely scoffs at the thought of the Fang and Jai families clashing over his actions. Then he turns his focus back to the resentful spider nest, effortlessly carving through the powerful domain Lord Gluttony Spider. Diwu Jin Quan pushes deeper into the spider nest, ignoring his companion's frantic protests, who clearly thinks hunting the matriarch is a death wish, but Diwu Jin Quan cold shoulders the guy, telling him to leave if he's scared. The companion realizes that staying near this monster is his only real shot at surviving this hellhole, so he quickly pledges his utility as a level 39 Epic rank priest, promising to stack his S-rank Echo Rabbit buffs, which piques Diwu Jin Quan's interest enough to ask about his origins, and the priest explains he was an upper city recruit who awakened an S-rank talent at 16, although his growth hit a hard ceiling because he can't level up on weak arena beasts anymore. Diwu Jin Quan probes him for details on how to actually break through that level 40 wall, and the priest describes the brutal process of fusing monster essence into human bodies at specialized altars, essentially turning a person into a host to bypass their natural physical limits. But Diwu Jin Quan learns these altars are strictly guarded assets belonging to powerful legions, which explains why the lower city is so starved for legitimate advancement opportunities. Yet the priest clarifies that you do not necessarily need an established group if you can secure a rare legion token, pointing to the emblems of major powers like Flying Eagle Shengwei and Tian as the gold standard. Diwu Jin Quan confirms that powerful monster lords can drop spirit beads, and since his companion knows the mechanics, he decides to keep the guy around for now, but they barely take a few steps before a dark cave entrance blocks their path, and a massive, shadowy projectile suddenly flies out to intercept their advance, forcing the panicked priest to scream a warning while a fireball erupts in the distance, revealing the presence of a massive, glowing domain Lord Shadow Spider, which sends the priest into a tailspin of pure terror at the sight of such a high-tier threat, although Diwu Jin Quan remains completely unfazed as he draws his blade for the kill, telling the trembling priest that these lord-level monsters are nothing but target practice for him, and he launches himself straight into the fray with a predatory grin, slicing through the spider's thick hide with such ease that the system marks a massive efficiency bonus. Then he reaches into the remains to pull out a pulsating, dark orb of energy, while the priest stares in disbelief at the strange, humming object in his hand, realizing it is an incredibly rare shadow bead that just dropped from the fallen boss. But the celebration is cut short when a massive shockwave tears through the ground beneath them, Duo Jinquan shoves his companion out of the path of a massive incoming strike, but the force of the impact still sends them both flying through the air, leaving them dazed and scrambling to regain their footing in the cavern, and Duo Jinquan realizes he is staring down a figure standing in the distance. Her cold, predatory presence waits calmly in the center of the nest, as the entity reveals it has been craving a hunt like this for a very long time, then announces that Duo Jinquan is nothing more than its next meal, before summoning a massive, lethal spider construct to lead the assault, and the priest recognizes the monster as the Overlord rank resentment spider matriarch, warning Duo Jinquan that she can infinitely resurrect her swarm until the offspring are wiped out. But Duo Jinquan ignores the caution and lunges forward to meet the challenge head-on, surging toward the matriarch with his weapon drawn to test her true strength. Yet she unleashes a crushing, invisible pressure that knocks him out of the air, and a violent vortex of energy tears through the arena to finish the job, causing the terrified priest to scream as he watches Duo Jinquan get caught in the blast. The energy blast obliterates the ground where Duo Jinquan was just standing. While the matriarch mocks him for having the gall to challenge her existence, and he narrowly avoids the impact by shifting his position at the last possible second, realizing that this level 40 boss is leagues above anything he has faced before, so he activates his nether statue to create a defensive barrier against her onslaught, successfully blocking the follow-up strikes that would have ended him right then and there. But the matriarch keeps up the pressure with a barrage of lethal energy lashes, noting with surprise that his reflexes are far sharper than she anticipated, and he uses that opening to launch himself into the air, narrowly dodging her reach as he maneuvers to turn the tables, while he descends with a strike that catches her completely off guard, laughing off her status as he realizes she is vulnerable to his speed. Yet the battlefield suddenly shifts around him as the environment begins to pulse, causing Duo Jinquan to question the strange fluctuations in the surrounding mana, and his companion screams a desperate warning that she can liquefy her body to evade. Duo Jinquan dodges the fluid assault, and he keeps his eyes locked on the target while shifting his stance, realizing the resentment spider matriarch splits her body right before impact, which turns the battlefield into a slippery trap of liquid mana. Yet Duo Jinquan finds himself actually enjoying the thrill of the hunt, but the boss surges forward to ensnare him in a crushing grip, forcing him to realize his current positioning is far from ideal, so the liquid nightmare closes the distance with terrifying speed, and Duo Jinquan takes a direct hit that sends him reeling, yet he stands his ground as the pressure builds around him. While the matriarch looms over the entire arena with lethal intent, mocking him as she fully reveals her true form, and she declares that he is trapped within her reach forever, summoning a massive swarm of spiders to descend upon the field. But Duo Jinquan senses the shift and prepares his counter. The matriarch commands her entire spider swarm to descend on Duo Jinquan, but he instantly erects a defensive barrier to hold back the initial wave, forcing the spiders to collide against his shield with bone-crushing force. And as the matriarch watches, Duo Jinquan channels a sudden burst of energy, launching himself directly through the swarm to strike at her core, telling her that he was never actually trapped by her petty tricks, revealing that he intentionally baited her into exposing her true body, and before she can react, his blade carves a lethal path through her defenses, causing the matriarch to scream as she realizes her fate is already sealed, because the strike lands with absolute precision, cleaving her form in two, leaving her to process the impossibility of her sudden defeat, while her body erupts into a violent display of light and necrotic energy, and the nearby observer can only gape at how Duo Jinquan played her like a fiddle, as the system confirms the kill on an overlord 5 levels above his own. Rewarding him with the soul of the resentment spider, a high-tier gold necklace, Duo Jinquan examines the legendary emblem, barely believing his own luck, as the artifact begins to radiate an intense, otherworldly golden light, revealing its true identity as a legendary-grade Legion token, leaving Duo Jinquan genuinely shocked that such a rare item actually dropped, while his companion completely loses it, screaming about how insane this acquisition is. Duo Jinquan immediately accepts the system prompt to bind as commander, so the token merges directly into his body, granting him absolute authority, while the system interface details the insane perks like shared soul energy and fast travel, and Duo Jinquan realizes he now holds the equivalent of a guild creation tool. But the sudden appearance of a new blinding notification interrupts his thoughts, prompting him to wonder if this is the mythical item Jiran once mentioned. As a legendary scroll and a dimensional crystal materialize right before his eyes, and he reaches out to claim the rewards floating in the air, seeing a prompt that offers him supreme ownership over the entire Pit 1 sector. So he taps the confirm button, eager to see what power he just unlocked. The system confirms Duo Jinquan now holds supreme authority over Pit 1, and he realizes the sheer scale of his new power as the sector bends to his will. But his focus shifts when a mysterious, pulsing energy suddenly flares nearby, revealing a rare spirit item that he immediately recognizes. The system identifies it as a vengeful god bead paired with a resentment-cleansing flower, confirming that killing the matriarch caused her loot to evolve into something far more potent, which catches his teammate's attention as she realizes the implications of such high-grade drops. But Duo Jinquan notes that he now possesses 2 spirit beads capable of forcing a breakthrough, so he reveals he hit level 39 during the boss fight, though his teammate explains that priests face a brutal catch-22 for their own class advancements, requiring a teammate's blood and specific altar access to bypass the level-up wall, which prompts her to immediately offer her own blood to help him progress, and Duo Jinquan accepts the gesture. Sensing a massive upgrade on the horizon, he draws his blade to initiate the ritual binding process, feeling the raw power surge through his senses as he prepares the connection, The blood-binding ritual ignites in a blinding flash, and Diwu Jinquan channels the core energy directly into the mysterious cube, which hums with a newfound resonance as the binding process stabilizes. So his companion confirms the cube is now ready to activate the altar, and a massive shockwave erupts, signaling the altar's awakening. While the ground beneath them trembles under the weight of the ancient mechanism, causing debris to rain down as the hidden passage finally clears, where Diwu Jinquan and his allies stand before the newly revealed entrance, and they step into the ancient chamber to find the altar waiting. So Diwu Jinquan approaches the pedestal to test the ritual's success, but a strange, frog-like creature manifests instantly to block their path. And the entity demands an offering before the breakthrough can begin, displaying a system requirement for exactly 500 spirit crystals, which floors his teammates since they possess nowhere near that amount. Because this specific altar is vastly more expensive than standard ones, Diwu Jinquan admits he is totally tapped out of spirit crystals, so he shifts the plan to hunting down local spirit masters for their loot, focusing his senses to scan the immediate surroundings for any unsuspecting targets, while the shadows coil around him as his tracking ability locks onto 4 signatures, and a predatory grin spreads across his face now that he has found them, prompting him to order his teammate to stow the altar and follow his lead, until they corner Li Hongbin, who is already guarding the precious spirit bead. But Diwu Jinquan does not waste time with pleasantries and demands the loot immediately. Though Li Hongbin mocks him as an abandoned child trying to claim status in Pit 1, and the smug aristocrat dismisses him as nothing more than garbage from the Zhao family, explaining that family rules dictate he should be removed for his previous failures. But Diwu Jinquan snaps, his patience for these arrogant noble games reaching its limit, so he retaliates with a verbal barb about Li Hongbin's lack of intelligence. And the subordinates scramble back as they realize a fight is about to break out. While Diwu Jinquan lunges forward with a dark aura screaming for the spirit bead, Diwu Jinquan charges forward while his opponents scramble to create distance. Li Hongbin sneers that an abandoned child like him is delusional for challenging them, but Diwu Jinquan shatters the ground beneath them with a massive shockwave, while nearby onlookers decide to stay hidden and watch the carnage unfold from afar. As Li Hongbin leaps to secure the floating red spirit bead before anything else, thinking that reaching rank 4 will finally earn him his place back in the family, when a chain suddenly snaps out from the shadows to intercept his movement, and the impact forces Li Hongbin to grunt in pain as he is caught midair, because Diwu Jinquan drags him down with a relentless, brutal yank of the chain, causing Li Hongbin to cough up blood as he slams hard into the frozen earth. And Diwu Jinquan towers over the fallen noble, leaving him completely incapacitated, even as Li Hongbin screams that the spirit bead belongs to him alone, and the hidden observers realize that Diwu Jinquan has been hiding his true power, while Li Hongbin gasps that he completely misjudged the monster standing before him. As the defeated noble breaks down, realizing his dreams of a breakthrough are over, Li Hongbin spills the tea on his family's obsession with a rank 9 dimension, explaining that he lost a mysterious emblem in Pit 1 which drew his uncle's attention, and he warns Diwu Jinquan that the ruthless Li Hongyu will hunt him down no matter what, which triggers a realization in Diwu Jinquan that the emblem in his possession is exactly what they seek. But their quiet conversation is interrupted by a sudden, sharp detection in the snow, causing the Li family guards to panic and demand that whoever is spying on them reveals themselves. While the hidden scouts realize they have been spotted and scramble to figure out their next move, yet Diwu Jinquan decides to end the suspense and steps out into the open with his companion, forcing the group to face the Li guards head-on as tension spikes in the freezing air, though Diwu Jinquan brushes off the confrontation with a casual remark before manifesting his dark energy, causing the guards to recognize his aura as the same one that wiped out previous lords. And they immediately urge their young master to stand down rather than risk another fight, while the lead guard tries to butter up Diwu Jinquan by complimenting his stealth and hearing, but Diwu Jinquan keeps his cool, noting that the energy coming off these men is far from ordinary, as he points out that Li Hongyu's dragnet makes everyone escaping Pit 1 a target for execution. The guard captain keeps pushing for a partnership, but Diwu Jinquan remains skeptical and demands a real reason to trust these men. So the guard mentions he has vital information on Jurin while standing over the fallen Li Hongbin, and that name finally grabs Diwu Jinquan's full focus, although the conversation gets cut short when the guards sense a massive incoming swarm, since the smell of blood from their recent skirmish has drawn a horde of deadly insects, which forces Diwu Jinquan to pivot from negotiation to pure survival as the monsters descend, and he wastes no time diving into the fray with his blade drawn, while the system confirms he's already racking up kills against the elite bug guards, leaving the Li family guards to marvel at the sheer destructive power of his attacks, as Diwu Jinquan taps into his inner energy to unleash a devastating technique, tearing through the swarm with a series of precise slashes. And the guards watch in complete disbelief as he deletes the threats in single strikes, while he continues to carve a path through the remaining insects, which earns a round of applause from the guard captain. The guard captain offers Diwu Jinquan safe passage out and intel on Jurin, while dangling a massive reward of 1,000 spirit crystals to sweeten the deal. But Diwu Jinquan counters with a demand of his own, insisting that they teach him the specialized mind net technique right now, which leaves the young subordinate completely shocked by his brother's audacity. Yet the captain concedes to the terms, claiming they have a deep connection after all, then pulls a spatial ring from his finger to finalize the transaction, as 500 spirit crystals materialize in a flash of intense energy, and the subordinate can barely process the sheer wealth of such high-level equipment. So Diwu Jinquan immediately shifts the focus back to finding Jurin, explaining that his mentor was poisoned by the death god flower and regressed, Then the captain realizes the gravity of the situation and asks if Juran entered the abyss. But Diwu Jinquan confirms he went that way to chase down his own path, which forces the captain to admit the Zhao family is deeply invested in class regression. Until the surrounding cave begins to tremble violently from a sudden energy shift. The energy field is shifting rapidly because the spider matriarch died. And now the dimensional space is accelerating toward total instability because the crystal chose a master. So the Li family guards urge everyone to flee the collapsing area immediately, but Diwu Jinquan sees this as the perfect chance to test his newly acquired power, deciding to secure his breakthrough with the spirit crystals before they face Li Hongyu, and the group sprints toward an abandoned miner camp to find a stable location, where the ritual site stands ready for the final surge of energy, as the guard begins to focus and condense his remaining spiritual essence. Then 500 spirit crystals pour their raw power into the center of the chamber, creating a massive shockwave that signals the start of the final transformation, while a dark, overwhelming pressure begins to emanate from the core of the ritual, and a towering phantom of the demon swordsman manifests behind Diwu Jinquan, forcing back the residual consciousness of the spider matriarch that dared to linger. So the kid dismisses that pathetic remnant of the beast with a cold glare. Then he swings his blade to slash through the void and shatter the lingering oppression. The dimensional tier finally stabilizes as Diwu Jinquan finishes his breakthrough, absorbing the massive influx of energy that confirms his new status. The system officially registers Diwu Jinquan as a level 40 demon swordsman. While Xia Yin simultaneously hits rank 4 and channels a surge of healing light, and the Li family guards watch the exit, sensing a massive shift in power, noting that the pressure radiating from Diwu Jinquan exceeds any normal rank 4 as he exhales the remaining energy and sharpens his focus for the fight ahead. Then he draws his blade with a surge of momentum to clear the final path, carving through the darkness with a single strike that illuminates the entire chamber. So Xia Yin celebrates their newfound strength, feeling his support capabilities skyrocket, but the moment of triumph is cut short by the reality of their situation. Since the Li family's eldest young master is already waiting in ambush outside, and Diwu Jinquan grins ready to face the threat head-on without hesitation, leading the group out of the collapsing void and toward the awaiting train, where they step cautiously onto the platform while keeping their guards up. Diwu Jinquan scans the train carriage, his eyes narrowing as he realizes the space is unsettlingly vacant, and the blue-haired woman demands to know where the rest of their party has disappeared to. So the Li family guard tells her to let it go because they are definitely not coming back, which leaves the group cooling their heels and drinking while the train carries them into the unknown, as the locomotive barrels down the tracks through the snowy landscape. Miles away, a watcher sits at a desk tracking a hooded figure hunched in the corner of a room, noting that the kid has not moved an inch, which clearly means he's not planning a return. Then a door bursts open to reveal a man in a dark shirt storming into the room, and the gray-haired subordinate looks up in complete shock as young Master Fang makes his sudden appearance, where the newcomer immediately demands the surrender of the stolen property. The subordinate stammers back, asking exactly which items the young master is referring to, because a rank 4 earth mage had been busy excavating a pit, and the hooded kid had managed to raid the mechanical repair shop, and young Master Fang points his cigarette accusingly, noting that 2 criminal slaves had no business touching that specific loot, which forces the older man to play dumb, claiming he only visited for a clear resentment flower and knows nothing about the Li family's emblem. But a photo hits the table showing the exact moment the item was swiped. Young Master Fang demands the stolen emblem, but the older subordinate decides to skip the talking and go straight for his throat, lunging with a hidden blade while young Master Fang is still holding his cigarette. Yet Fang reacts with terrifying speed, catching the attacker's wrist mid-swing with a brutal grip, and with one swift motion he throws the man across the room into the debris, leaving the hooded youth watching in absolute terror as the power gap becomes impossible to ignore. While the older man screams that he will never hand over the goods, but a massive surge of energy tears through the fabric of space, and a train suddenly crashes out of a dimensional rift onto the tracks, leaving the Li family guards stunned as they watch the locomotive reappear, while third young Master Li steps onto the scene to confront the arrivals, and the train comes to a screeching halt right in front of them, as third young Master Li scans the area, clearly expecting specific travelers. And his men wonder who he is waiting for in such a desolate place, but he mocks the newcomers, questioning how they escaped when the dimension has not even opened yet, and he reveals his own ability to bypass spatial restrictions with ease. Third young Master Li demands their spatial gear with a smug grin, but Diwu Jinquan is not having it and powers up his energy to retaliate, so third young Master Li orders his men to charge the group. Diwu Jinquan immediately dives into the fray with a lethal strike, sending the first wave of attackers flying through the air, which leaves third young Master Li fuming at the disrespect from a lower city dweller, so he unleashes a massive boulder as a projectile, but Diwu Jinquan shatters the debris into dust without missing a beat, mocking the Li family for their pathetic lack of real skill. Then he starts cutting through the remaining guards like a whirlwind. And a spectral green energy surge tears through the battlefield, while Diwu Jinquan leaps through the chaos to close the distance, causing third young Master Li to realize he seriously underestimated his opponent's speed, as a brutal unseen slash tears right through one of his loyal men, leaving the guard to collapse in a heap on the ground. A subordinate questions if the pressure on Diwu Jinquan is becoming too much. But third young Master Li just mocks the swordsman for his perceived overconfidence, and the atmosphere shifts instantly as Diwu Jinquan drops his guard, revealing a predatory look, while third young Master Li realizes his mistake the exact moment the blade descends, sending a lethal slash through the noble's defenses before he can even blink, which leaves third young Master Li reeling in total shock as his head falls. Then Du Jinquan stands amidst the rain, having efficiently ended the threat, and he taunts the fallen noble, noting that the previous display was just a distraction, while the remaining subordinates watch in terror, finally grasping the true extent of his power as they beat a hasty retreat, fully aware they are outclassed in every way. Then Du Jinquan receives a call from his seventh uncle, inquiring if he escaped the pit. And he confirms the news has already traveled, agreeing to meet up shortly while he walks toward his waiting relatives, leaving the carnage of the battle behind him. As the elder reveals his destination, they are headed to see someone named Seventh Master Zhao, and they move through the city streets, traversing the night toward the meeting spot. Du Jinquan reaches the rendezvous point, announcing his arrival to his seventh uncle, who greets him with a cigarette in hand and a welcoming wave, inviting the group inside to take a seat, while the uncle eyes the newcomers with a mix of curiosity and caution. Then his expression shifts to pure shock as he recognizes someone in the party, prompting him to lead them further into the private room for serious talk, where Du Jinquan immediately breaks the news that Zhu Jiangxing is dead, which leaves the uncle stunned, so Du Jinquan clarifies that a setup by Jialinger caused the fatal trap. And the uncle worries about the Flying Eagle Empire descending into chaos, though he quickly pivots to demand that Du Jinquan master all 6 skills without delay, before turning his gaze toward the mysterious blue-clad man sitting in the corner, asking if Du Jinquan knows the stranger, only to admit he once had dealings with the Du family. And that revelation catches the newcomer completely off guard, as the uncle confirms the stranger's identity as the eldest son Du Jinquan. Then he questions how a man labeled a trash-tier emblem could have possibly awakened such power. Du Jinquan credits his sudden surge in power to the mysterious Jurin, and seventh uncle realizes that connection explains everything he has been witnessing, while Du Jinquan wastes no time requesting an immediate loan of 200,000 spirit crystals, as the uncle signals for his subordinates to bring the requested wealth forward. So the men hurry into the room carrying the heavy payment for the deal, and the uncle hands over 2 spatial rings, each loaded with 100,000 crystals, while Du Jinquan is genuinely taken aback by such an immense display of generosity, as he accepts the boxes and mentions he needs to head toward the Champ Street guard post, but seventh uncle drops a bombshell by revealing that the guard post has been completely destroyed, while explaining that a member of the Fang family fought his way out after being nearly killed there, and when Du Jinquan asks about the girl who was involved, the uncle confirms she was taken by Fang Hui. So Du Jinquan admits she saved his life and begs for help in getting her back, and the uncle agrees to make a single phone call to resolve the situation immediately, while elsewhere a man relaxes in a private bath as he considers the items left behind by his dead brother. And a woman reports that the girl brought in yesterday has finally regained consciousness. The interrogator pressures the girl for information about a sandheart flower left by his deceased brother, and he pulls out the artifact to emphasize that he knows exactly what she is hiding, while the girl struggles to find the words under his intense, suffocating gaze, but he loses his patience completely and slams his fist down into the water, which forces the girl to collapse to the floor in genuine terror, as she gasps for air while trying to process the sudden outburst of violence. Then a text notification cuts the tension by confirming his team has already reached the girl's location, and he realizes the sand heart flower is finally within his reach. So he steps out of the bath while the girl cowers in the corner, and he grabs her by the arm to drag her along for the exchange. While outside the building, the handoff team waits near the street for their arrival, and they confirm their orders from Zhao Liubai as the man emerges with the captive, while holding a metal briefcase that supposedly contains the girl's safety, and he hands her over to the waiting men to finalize the trade. As they pop the case open to verify the glowing sandheart flower inside, the sandheart flower is finally secured, meaning Ayan has a real shot at survival. And the contact tells Lin that a friend sent him to collect her, while Lin realizes with complete disbelief that Du Jinquan actually pulled it off, as she is ushered back to a quiet room where Du Jinquan is waiting for them, where she immediately asks how she could possibly repay him for saving her life. But Du Jinquan counters by offering her a chance to help him reach level 39, as he explains the dangerous Cursebone Cave holds the secret realm they need to raid. And though he admits the mission is incredibly risky, he asks for her support just as the doors open and the team finally delivers the rescued Lin to his side, where the relief on her face is obvious the moment she recognizes Du Jinquan, while he confirms he kept his promise to bring her back safely, and Lin breaks down in tears of gratitude, rushing into his arms as Du Jinquan promises her that they are leaving Deadman City for good. Then he pulls out a rare item to give to her as a special gift, which leaves the onlooker completely stunned to see a genuine legendary emblem. Du Jinquan hands the golden emblem to Lin, telling her it is time, and a surge of raw energy erupts from the artifact, engulfing her completely, as the power manifests into a brilliant display of light that forces onlookers back, because Lin has officially awakened into a powerful, high-tier class, revealing her new status as a legendary heavy artillery controller, while glowing data streams and system interfaces begin to sync with her movements, and Lin realizes she has successfully bypassed the usual constraints of her rank, which prompts seventh uncle to acknowledge that she is no longer a victim. So the uncle thanks Du Jinquan for the favor and notes his impressive connections, but Du Jinquan warns him that even a legendary class requires proper training. He advises Lin to master her emotions since her new power is volatile, and they decide to leave immediately for the Cursebone Cave, while Du Jinquan orders his men to supply Lin with top-tier thermal weaponry. Then Lin pulls on her new tactical gear to prepare for the upcoming raid as she gets ready to test her newfound combat capabilities. Seventh Uncle provides a suite of Tier 1 thermal weapons for the journey, and he advises Lin Meng that her new class can bind these guns directly. Lin tests the interface by snapping a rifle into her own energy field, Then the weapon hardware integrates seamlessly into her body as if it were magic. Feeling the connection pulse through her, she marvels at how natural it all feels. Duo Jinquin signals the team to board the armored transport for a quick departure. While they climb inside, Xia Yin's remarks on the obvious wealth of his family. Duo Jinquin explains that the vehicle is designed to tank hits from high-level monsters. Then he slams the engine to life and tears out of the city at full speed. They push through the urban sprawl toward the rugged edge of the wasteland. Pointing toward the horizon, Duo Jinquin notes the cursed bone cave is just ahead. He tells the group the surrounding Les Peak forest is the perfect practice ground. So he assigns Xia Yins to coordinate their defensive formation alongside Lin Meng. The heavy truck kicks up a massive dust cloud as it navigates the desert terrain. Suddenly, the vehicle screeches to a halt when the sensors pick up movement. The sand mist worm bursts from the dunes, so Duo Jinquin signals Lin Meng to take the lead. He coaches her to breathe deep and focus on the creature's head joint. Her shot finds the mark perfectly. The system confirms a kill with 100% effectiveness. Duo Jinquin keeps her focused on her breathing and rhythm. More targets emerge from the desert, but the worms suddenly scatter and retreat. Duo Jinquin realizes something is wrong. The massive sand mistworm king at level 12 crashes onto the field. Xia Yins and the team scramble to avoid the incoming beast. The king unleashes a concentrated energy beam. They barely manage to dodge the strike. Duo Jinquin commands Lin Meng to switch to sniper mode and target the limb gaps. She accepts the order with complete confidence. Lin Meng locks in with her enhanced sniper rifle. The sand mist worm king lets out a piercing shriek. But the creature is already reeling from the barrage of heavy fire, and Lin Meng lands a series of surgical hits. Duo Jinquin urges her to maintain the pressure as she dominates the exchange. A system notification confirms the king is down and rewards her with a level up. She celebrates the victory with a grin. Duo Jinquin praises her precision and reminds her to keep that tactical focus. The team agrees to push even further while their momentum is peaking. They venture deeper into the forest where smaller pests swarm toward them. Lin Meng keeps her guard up, weaving through the trees to find the best firing angles. Another system alert pops up confirming she has reached Tier 1. The team clears the area of bloodthirsty worms. They pause on high ground to scan the horizon. A group of hostile scavengers spots them from afar and starts plotting an ambush. The scavengers watch from the shadows, hungry for the team's high-tier gear. While Lin Meng celebrates hitting level 10 and raves about her new weapon's performance, Duo Jinquin decides it is finally time for the team to take a well-deserved break, and they gather around a campfire in the woods to share a meal. Lin Meng thanks Duo Jinquin for his support, feeling a deep sense of security. Then he reassures her that as her brother, he will always be there to protect her, which moves her to tears as she fully embraces their new bond. And she pulls him into a tight hug, grateful for his presence in her life. But nearby, the scavengers confirm their ambush plan is ready for execution. So they swarm through the brush toward the unsuspecting camp, debating whether to attack head-on or test the group's strength first. The scavenger boss loses his patience and commands his underling to charge despite the subordinate's hesitation. The boss forces him into the fray. And he kicks the man toward the camp, leaving him no choice but to attack. The terrified scavenger stumbles into the open, drawing the team's attention. The screaming scavenger hurtles toward the camp, blades drawn for a desperate assault, and Duo Jinquin intercepts the attacker instantly, parrying the incoming blow with zero effort. The bandit lunges with a wild swing, his face twisted in pure, unadulterated aggression. But Duo Jinquin deflects the steel midair with a casual, precise motion of his own blade. The attacker realizes his weapon has been caught bare-handed, and his bravado vanishes into thin air because Duo Jinquin shatters the scavenger's momentum with a single, brutal, counter-striking move. The bandit is sent flying backward into the brush, coughing up blood from the impact. The observing scavenger boss realizes his underlings are wildly outmatched and suggests retreating immediately. But the boss refuses to accept defeat, plotting to play dirty instead of fighting fairly. He eyes the group, deciding to launch a sneak attack while they believe they are resting. Lin Meng keeps her guard up, clutching her heavy-duty rifle while the scavengers creep closer. Duo Jinquin senses the hostile presence nearby, correctly identifying the threat as the lurking sand bandits. The audacity of the scavengers triggers his fury, and he vows to make them pay. He asks Xia Yins about their departure timeline. Eager to finish this business once and for all, the team decides to hold their position until nightfall, waiting for the secret realm entrance to appear. Darkness settles over the camp as the moon rises, signaling the start of their watch. Duo Jinquin tells Lin Meng to get some sleep while he takes the first shift. She agrees and happily stretches out to rest, completely unaware of the approaching danger. Duo Jinquin watches over the tent, but a sudden, sharp realization crosses his face. A deafening shout pierces the night air as the camp erupts into sudden chaos. Duo Jinquin orders Lin Meng to stay put and guard the tent before rushing into the fray. Flames consume the surrounding structures while the rest of the team scrambles to assess the damage. The realization hits them that the sand bandits have finally launched their long-awaited raid. Duo Jinquin notices the fire as a distraction, and his expression turns to pure dread. He shouts for Lin Meng, sensing that she is the primary target of this assault. Rushing back to the tent, he discovers that the enemy has already breached their perimeter. The horrifying truth dawns on him that the entire ambush was a calculated trap to kidnap her. A vehicle speeds away into the distance, carrying the unconscious Lin Meng toward the desert. Inside the speeding car, the bandit leader gloats over the success of their perfectly executed plan. His cohorts laugh while discussing their vile intentions for the captive girl. Lin Meng struggles against her restraints as the reality of her kidnapping sinks in. The vehicle arrives at the fortified sand bandit base. The bandit boss throws her onto the floor and makes his vile intentions clear. She realizes the ambush happened while she was resting. A flash of memory reveals the moment she was caught off guard. She recalls the sudden release of a toxic substance. Realizing it was knockout gas, her vision begins to blur, the gas takes effect and she collapses to the ground. The bandits swarm her, binding her up while she remains defenseless. The boss gloats about making her his wife. He demands her absolute submission to avoid further pain. Lin Meng suddenly lashes out with a powerful kick to the boss's face. The unexpected counterattack forces the stunned man to stagger backward. He screams in agony as he clutches his injured nose. His underlings rush in to check on him. The enraged bandit boss orders his men to punish Lin Meng, and they gleefully rush forward to carry out his command. But Lin Meng instantly summons her twin submachine guns to regain the upper hand. She unleashes a storm of gunfire that sends the bandits flying. With her weapons fully active, she tracks down her attackers with lethal precision, forcing the remaining scavengers to scramble for cover against her relentless barrage. Even the boss realizes she's fighting back at full capacity. Meanwhile, Diwu Jingquan finds fresh tire tracks in the dirt. He tracks the trail directly to the bandit hideout deep in the woods. His intel confirms the sand bandits are holding Lin Meng at these exact coordinates. As he and his team prepare to move, they take comfort in knowing Lin Meng reached level 10. They quickly close the distance to the fortified base. Inside the perimeter, the guards celebrate their capture of a woman and plan a feast. Suddenly, the sentries spot an incoming vehicle approaching the main gate. Diwu Jingquan rams his armored truck straight into the stronghold's barricades. The armored truck tears through the desert, kicking up clouds of dust. Diwu Jingquan pulls right up to the massive wooden gates of the bandit stronghold, confirming their intel. He realizes the base is exactly where they tracked it. Inside, the bandits spot the vehicle and decide to hijack the ride. They swarm the gate, eager to claim the prize as their own. A volley of rockets streaks toward the truck in a desperate attempt to stop him. The projectiles scream through the air, closing in on the target. A massive explosion engulfs the area as the rockets find their mark. The bandits emerge through the smoke, ready to finish off the intruder. Diwu Jingquan steps out, calmly demanding the location of his captured teammate. He names Lin Meng as the girl he is here to rescue. The bandit leaders exchange a knowing, twisted look. One of them gloats that Lin Meng is already being married off to their boss. The words trigger an instant, lethal shift in Diwu Jingquan's demeanor. The arrogant bandit continues to mock him. Unaware of the death sentence he just signed, Diwu Jingquan snaps and the bandit leader's head is gone before he can even blink. The remaining scavengers realize too late they've picked a fight with a literal death machine. They scream threats about avenging their brother, but their panic is already setting in. Xia Yin steps out of the vehicle and warns them not to mess with his big brother. Diwu Jingquan launches himself into the fray, turning the entire courtyard into a slaughterhouse. His blade moves like a whirlwind, carving through the bandits with surgical precision. None of the scavengers can even track his speed as he clears the path forward. The survivors are left trembling, realizing they are not facing a human, but a monster. He pauses with his blade drawn, calmly asking if they'll surrender or choose to die. They drop their weapons instantly and beg for their lives, terrified of what happens next. A rogue bandit deep inside the base complains about losing his prize. A frantic subordinate sprints into the room, shouting that someone has breached the stronghold. The bandit boss demands to know who dares challenge him in his own fortress. Diwu Jingquan steps into the chamber, his sword dripping with the blood of the entire outer guard. The boss recognizes him immediately and breaks into a cold sweat of pure realization. Diwu Jingquan looms over the captive, demanding the truth about who wiped out the entire Tianqi Empire. The old bandit begs him to give up on revenge, claiming the entire upper city has already vanished. Warnings about the elemental holy city and flying eagle empire follow. As the captive insists they are doomed too, Diwu Jingquan refuses to back down, pressing the man for the identity of their mysterious attackers. The secret finally comes out as the bandit whispers that they are known simply as gods. These entities harvest human intelligence to empower their own twisted creations. Monsters transformed by these gods are designated as divine envoys, hiding behind human appearances. These creatures possess the raw power of king-level threats. The destruction of the Tianqi Empire was not a war, but a systematic harvest. Terrifying mutations are breeding and spreading at an uncontrollable rate. These abominations are rapidly evolving and learning the inner workings of human society. The bandit breaks down in despair, realizing that every major faction is destined for extinction. Diwu Jingquan pulls out a mysterious artifact he recovered, demanding to know if it is linked to the envoys. The captive confirms it is the Book of the Divine Envoy, a relic snatched from a Redstone City spider. Diwu Jingquan presses for its true purpose, noting the spider was already speaking human words when he found it. The captive reveals that the artifact fuses human corpses with monster crystals to unlock a secondary class. Diwu Jingquan realizes the implications for the lost Tianqi Empire as the prisoner confirms its utter destruction. Chains rattle as the old man admits defeat, his body failing under a lethal ancient curse. Diwu Jingquan offers to break him out, but the prisoner knows his time is already running out. Dark energy surges through the old man's veins as the 7 curses finally take their toll. He begs Diwu Jingquan to decapitate him, explaining that a vital map is hidden inside his skull. Xia Yin watches in silence as the gravity of the prisoner's request sets in. The old man gasps out names of high-ranking divine envoys, including the commander of the Peregrine Falcon bandits. Diwu Jingquan realizes the scope of the infiltration while the team watches the old man wither. A final desperate plea for his son Yer echoes through the room before the curse reaches his heart. Diwu Jingquan honors the request, and the prisoner's body begins to crystallize as his life fades. Silence fills the chamber as Diwu Jingquan prepares for the grim task. With a single, precise motion, he severs the head to secure the map hidden within. The head rolls free, leaving behind the crystallized remains of the fallen man. Diwu Jingquan retrieves the glowing remnant, acknowledging the sacrifice that will guide their next move. Diwu Jingquan and his crew turn their backs on the dark cave, confirming that their grim business is finished. and they pile into their rugged vehicle to put the wasteland behind them, cruising across the vast, sun-baked dunes toward the next horizon. Diwu Jingquan eyes a dilapidated town in the distance, noting its history as a casualty of the fallen elemental holy city. But as they roll into the settlement, opportunistic locals swarm the vehicle, trying to peddle everything from indentured labor to specialized skills. While others shove medicinal wine at the team, promising unnatural endurance, until the team pushes the aggressive street hawkers aside to clear a path. Diwu Jingquan recognizes the area is crawling with competing sand bandit factions, then spots the entrance to the dimensional land looming ahead, leading them straight to the massive ancient pyramid structure where he orders Xia Yin's and the rest of the team to hold the perimeter. And advances toward the grand gateway with the team close behind, to find the interior littered with the bleached remains of previous explorers. Diwu Jingquan dismisses their confusion while pointing out the path forward, and he scales the massive skeletal structure to reach the hidden mechanism, which he triggers to rip a hole in reality. So he turns to the team to confirm the mission parameters, then Diwu Jingquan dives into the swirling portal first, with Lin Meng and the others following him into the strange new space, where they find an eerie gallery filled with preserved specimens. But Lin Meng quickly spots a massive incoming threat, and she levels her heavy rifle to meet the charge as a relentless wave of undead warriors floods the corridor. So Xia Yin's takes up the rear to guard their backs, while Diwu Jingquan signals for Lin Meng to take the lead in combat, and she vows to hold her own as the fighting begins, firing heavy rounds that shatter the skeletons into dust, which triggers a rapid string of level-up notifications for her. Lin Meng is clearly hyped about the insane experience gains, but Diwu Jingquan keeps her focused as a fresh wave of enemies appears, and the dimensional energy shifts as more armored skeletons materialize in the hall, leaving the team to face a wall of shields and rattling bones. So Lin Meng opens fire with her heavy rifle to test their durability. Yet the bullets ping harmlessly off the reinforced shields, which makes Diwu Jingquan realize that standard attacks are not cutting it against this gear. But Lin Meng promises this was just a warm-up before she shifts her tactics, and she activates an armor-breaking skill that shatters the enemy formation, sending the skeletal defense into total disarray as the shields crack, which leaves Xia Yin's impressed by the broken utility of her mythic-class abilities. So Lin Meng lunges into the chaos and keeps the pressure on, dual-wielding her weapons to clear the remaining guardians in the room, and her precision fire tears through the undead ranks until the entire battalion is reduced to scrap on the floor. Lin Meng finally clears the last of the guardians, and the system confirms she has hit level 20, which prompts Diwu Jingquan to admit her leveling speed and talent are outpacing his own. But the celebratory moment is cut short by a sudden, ear-splitting roar, as a massive flame-wreathed demonic wolf lunges straight at them, and Diwu Jingquan shouts a warning to Lin Meng while she glances back just in time to see the beast closing in. So the wolf slams into her with enough force to send her flying, which triggers a furious outburst from Diwu Jingquan as he leaps into the air to intercept the demon, and the wolf lands ready for another strike. But it unleashes a concentrated sphere of fire directly at him, and Diwu Jingquan takes the hit while gritting his teeth in pain, which sends him crashing back against the wall, and Lin Meng cries out in alarm, worried for his condition. Diwu Jingquan regains his footing after the blast, staring down the demonic wolf with a cold, focused gaze, while Zhao Liubai rushes in to offer him support, and he extends his hands to conjure chains that bind the beast, shouting that a lord-level enemy requires a coordinated team effort, telling Diwu Jingquan to strike the creature immediately, because his link allows him to transfer any damage taken by the wolf directly to itself. And Diwu Jingquan prepares his blade, ready to unleash his full power, lunging forward with a swift cutting motion, as the energy of the attack travels through the restraining chains, and the wolf is enveloped in a massive, searing explosion, leaving the beast reeling from the concentrated force of the strike, while system icons signal the defeat of the powerful foe, and Diwu Jingquan acknowledges Zhao Liubai for his unique and effective ability, tossing him the loot dropped by the defeated lord. Diwu Jingquan signals the team to push forward, pointing toward the massive chamber doors as the only path to clear the stage, and he forces the heavy panels open with a straining effort, only for the entire group to be instantly separated by a falling iron gate, leaving Diwu Jingquan and Zhao Liubai trapped inside the cage while Lin Meng and Xia Yin's are stranded outside, where a sudden defensive barrier slams into place around the enclosure, prompting Lin Meng to rush toward the bars in a desperate attempt to help. But Diwu Jingquan shouts for them to keep their distance to avoid the trap, while he tests the strength of the cage with a direct, heavy strike, which only triggers a violent surge of magical energy back at him, confirming the bars are reinforced with a defensive magic that refuses to break. So Zhao Liubai steps up to attempt his own breakthrough, unleashing a concentrated, high-powered slash that tears through the air, but the impact creates a massive shockwave instead of cutting the metal, forcing Diwu Jingquan and Zhao Liubai to dodge the rebound of their own energy. The barrier finally yields to their combined efforts. But Diwu Jingquan senses an unsettling presence watching them from the shadows, just as a sharp, discordant piano note echoes through the chamber, and Diwu Jingquan catches the sound, his eyes widening at the sudden intrusion, revealing a skeletal figure at the piano who greets them as dear friends. The entity introduces himself as the Domain Lord and Warden, level 39, so Zhao Liubai demands to know what happened to the previous visitors, which prompts the Warden to casually mention he killed all the unqualified listeners. While the room fills with the lingering spirits of those he previously slaughtered, Xia Yin's realizes defeating this Warden is the only way to reach the Overlord, asking if Diwu Jingquan is confident enough to take on such a high-ranked target. The Warden overhears the challenge and merely smiles in cold anticipation, before slamming his fingers down to launch a barrage of razor-sharp sound waves, forcing Xia Yin's to shove Lin Meng behind him to keep her out of range. While the lethal energy slashes cut through the air toward the group, The sound waves hit Xia Yin's with brutal force, sending him sprawling until Lin Meng lunges to catch him, just as an axe-shaped energy projection screams toward their position, forcing the group to stand their ground against the warden's onslaught, but a dark blade slices through the air to intercept the strike. As Duo Jingquan launches himself into the fray to protect his teammates, the skeletal warden sneers at their defiance of his musical performance. Yet Duo Jingquan remains focused entirely on shielding Lin Meng from harm, swearing that anyone who dares touch her will pay the ultimate price, which only makes the warden mock them for their lack of taste, as he unleashes a flurry of metallic projectiles toward the team, and Duo Jingquan growls in frustration at the relentless, deafening noise. Charging forward to silence the boss once and for all, until a warning goes out that the warden is initiating a self-destruct, so an explosion erupts with enough force to shatter the chamber floor. The blast sends Duo Jingquan flying backward, prompting a panic scream from his allies as he hits the ground, but the warden remains arrogant, looming over the battlefield with a cold warning, and vows that Duo Jingquan will finally meet his end today. Yet Duo Jingquan lunges forward, burying his blade deep into the skeletal boss, and the warden realizes too late that his overconfidence was a fatal mistake. So Duo Jingquan unleashes a final, brutal strike that cuts the undead enemy down, while the defeat of the warden triggers a massive legendary skill drop, leaving Duo Jingquan stunned by the rare God Slayer Whitebone sword armor, and he quickly secures the Overlord ticket needed to advance. Before the group activates the portal to leave the ruined chamber behind, so they transport instantly to a strange, pink-hued dimension, where Duo Jingquan leads them toward their ultimate target, but they emerge into a chaotic scene filled with screams and cherry blossom trees, and discover a group of helpless survivors being hunted. The cursed borrowing snake looms over the survivors, declaring them nothing more than snacks. While the trapped group realizes their shortcut has led them straight into a death trap, and they desperately search for an escape route before the massive beast strikes, but the snake mocks their struggle, insisting they provide a meal before they can leave. Then a sudden, massive magical surge signals the arrival of new challengers on the field, which immediately catches the attention of the survivors as teleportation circles manifest. Duo Jingquan steps through, recognizing that they have landed right in the heat of a conflict, while the survivors hope to use the newcomers as a distraction to make their getaway, planning to bolt the moment the fight escalates. But the cursed borrowing snake does not hesitate, unleashing a devastating beam of energy, which forces the newcomers to react instantly to the incoming blast, so Duo Jingquan shouts for everyone to clear the area. And the survivors scramble to safety as the ground shatters, but the sheer force of the impact sends shockwaves tearing through their position. While the snake expresses genuine surprise that its prey managed to dodge the lethal strike, Lin Meng checks on the team through the dust, but Duo Jingquan realizes the danger and orders her to fall back immediately, while the cursed borrowing snake mocks them as nothing more than annoying insects. Then it unleashes a devastating shockwave that tears the landscape apart, and the sheer force of the impact leaves Duo Jingquan reeling from the recoil. He recovers just in time to warn the others that this monster is on a completely different level, so the team realizes they have no choice but to coordinate their attacks, while the creature channels a terrifying dark energy and claims divinity, and it vows vengeance against the mortals who dare to challenge a god. The group sets up a defensive barrier to withstand the incoming onslaught, but the snake shatters their protection with a single, brutal strike, so their ally steps forward to create an opening for Duo Jingquan, and he manages to bind the snake with ethereal chains. Seeing the monster immobilized, Duo Jingquan seizes the moment to strike. He launches a powerful golden blade that cuts through the snake's guard. Duo Jingquan's golden blade slices through the dark energy. As the cursed borrowing snake shrieks in defiance, and the impact of the strike tears up the entire landscape, leaving his teammates wondering if they actually pulled it off. But the dust settles to reveal the beast has vanished, forcing Duo Jingquan to realize the threat is far from over because the snake reappears with a terrifying divine glare, and his teammate screams a warning just in time, as a massive tail whip sends Duo Jingquan flying through the air, leaving him reeling from the brutal impact. But he draws upon the power of his God Slayer armor, and his hair turns stark white as his combat stats surge, with his indomitable will manifesting as crackling energy, while his allies recognize the legendary skill at work, and the snake recoils in shock as it feels its own power being surpassed. Duo Jingquan channels his final reserves into one last devastating strike, and the blinding energy cuts through the air like a god-tier executioner, leaving the cursed borrowing snake no time to even scream before it is obliterated, while the shockwave of the impact clears the surrounding forest in a single heartbeat, and the system confirms the kill, bumping Duo Jingquan up to level 39 as he finally lands back on solid ground to catch his breath, when his teammates rush over, concerned about his condition, but Duo Jingquan brushes off the worry, noticing a legendary gold emblem on the ground, which reveals itself to be a powerful new accessory, granting him the grasp of the cursed gloves, a tier 4 legendary item with massive stat boosts. Though the team is floored by the sheer quality of the loot drop, so Duo Jingquan insists that his team take the equipment first, proving that he values their growth as much as his own. Then the portal to the exit begins to shimmer into existence before them, as the team confirms the boss is truly dead and their path is clear. The teleportation array flares with blinding energy, signaling their final departure from the cursed dungeon dimension, and the team breathes a sigh of relief as they finally touch solid ground. But hunger hits them immediately, leading Duo Jingquan to suggest a nearby tavern, so they make their way through the quiet streets toward the establishment, kicking open the doors to find the place eerily still, and they step into the dim room to find a few regulars scattered about. While the bartender looks up, clearly caught off guard by their arrival, asking the staff for their menu options to satisfy their post-dungeon appetite, and the host eagerly guides them to a table, promising the finest local dishes. though Lin Meng insists on ordering a mountain of snacks first, so Diwu Jingquan tosses a spirit crystal onto the counter to cover the massive bill, which immediately catches the greedy eyes of some thugs lurking at the bar. While Lin Meng notices the heavy, hostile glares directed straight at their table, realizing that flashing their wealth has turned them into prime targets, the thugs demand a share of the spirit crystals, so Lin Meng steps forward, pistol drawn, to intercept them, but the lead thug dismisses her with a harsh insult, which only earns a cold, unimpressed glare from Lin Meng, and the thug reacts by leveling his firearm directly at her, forcing Lin Meng to launch into a high-speed acrobatic kick. Disarming the attacker before he can even pull the trigger, then she unleashes a precise shot into the group, sending the thugs reeling back in sudden, sharp agony. As she lands perfectly while the opposition collapses to the floor, a mysterious observer applauds the display from the balcony, praising Lin Meng for her exceptional combat prowess. So she trains her weapon on the stranger, demanding his identity, but the man just smiles, offering them a room upstairs to relax. Causing Diwu Jingquan and Lin Meng to share a guarded look, Diwu Jingquan and Lin Meng step toward the open door but find a man slumped over inside the room. The guy suddenly snaps his head up with fangs bared, leaving the team to demand answers as his demeanor shifts. Although Diwu Jingquan senses an immediate malicious threat, a Kiang crashes to the floor in a heap, and a monstrous, shadowy beast manifests from his back, forcing Diwu Jingquan to scramble back in pure disbelief. The entity lunges forward with wild, jagged claws, demanding a drink while charging straight at the group. While the man witnessing this chaos screams out for help, but Diwu Jingquan plants his feet to launch a counter, noting that the creature carries the distinct aura of a divine envoy, before the host snarls at them for ruining his twisted fun, promising a violent end as he reaches out to strike. Diwu Jingquan dodges the lunging parasite with ease, catching the creature off guard with his lightning-fast reflexes. Then he follows up with a brutal kick to the chest, slamming the possessed Kiang into the wooden floor with crushing force, sending the host skidding across the room in a heap, while the parasite struggles to maintain its grip on the man's body, leaving the team to confirm the entity's twisted divine envoy identity, even as the beast continues to scream threats at them. Diwu Jingquan silences the noise with a swift, punishing strike, forcing Lin Meng and the others to question their escape route. But a panicked messenger suddenly bursts through the door, warning them that the townspeople have descended into a violent riot, specifically targeting them to seize their vehicle, as the chilling aura of another divine envoy looms over the streets, forcing the group to realize they are running out of time. Diwu Jingquan and his team bolt through the tavern doors. But the group realizes the situation is spiraling out of control, so they urge everyone to abandon their vehicle and retreat immediately, just as the hostile mob descends to seize their gear by force, commanding the townspeople to tear the team apart, and the sheer number of rioters overwhelms the team's defensive line, while the pressure of the incoming divine envoy mounts with every second, as a mysterious, clawed entity observes the chaos from a distance. Boasting that he has already purged 12 towns without breaking a sweat, then Diwu Jingquan senses the terrifying aura closing in on their position, while a teammate cries out as a thug blindsides him in the fray, and the mob mocks them, claiming the divine envoy will claim their spoils, so the cornered teammate lashes out in a desperate final stand, launching a heavy strike that sends his attackers flying into the air, but the relentless wave of rioters continues to swarm their position. Diwu Jingquan senses someone closing in, his guard spiking as he scans the perimeter. Then a warrior leaps into the fray, his blade gleaming as he charges the front lines, telling his teammates to stand down while he takes full responsibility for the incoming threat. But his partner watches in concern, calling out his name as the tension reaches a breaking point, and Diwu Jingquan channels a massive electrical discharge that blasts the surrounding thugs away, which leaves the rescued team members relieved that their savior arrived just in time, though they urge him to stop wasting time on minor thugs and focus on the divine envoy nearby. So he confirms he has already locked onto the hunter's aura, even as the mob goads him, claiming he needs to clear them out before he can face their master. Then Diwu Jingquan strikes with a flurry of attacks that cleaves through the mob's front rank, finally drawing the attention of the real mastermind hiding in the shadows, and the divine envoy reveals his true bestial form, eager to see if the swordsman is worth the effort, while the remaining cultists howl in excitement, convinced their new master will claim Diwu Jingquan as a trophy. So they swarm him with renewed bloodlust, shouting orders to kill him on the spot, but Diwu Jingquan effortlessly tosses an attacker aside, showing total disregard for their puny numbers. Diwu Jingquan whips his chains with lethal intent, declaring that none of these cultists will survive, and the mob is torn apart instantly, their screams echoing as they are wiped from the field, while the divine envoy watches from the rooftops, calculating the power he needs to evolve further. And this bestial entity decides that devouring a strong warrior like Diwu Jingquan is the missing key, so he crushes his glass in anticipation, eager to see if the swordsman can actually pose a challenge. Then the divine envoy lunges forward, meeting Diwu Jingquan in a clash that sends shockwaves through the air, and the beast mocks the swordsman's strength, telling Diwu Jingquan that he's vastly outclassed before launching a heavy strike that forces the swordsman onto the defensive immediately. Then the divine envoy pins Diwu Jingquan by the head, asserting dominance with a single hand, and sneers that the swordsman is not even qualified to be his opponent. Just as Lin Meng screams for the beast to release her brother, firing her weapon to intervene, and the projectile streaks across the rooftops, targeting the envoy with lethal precision, so the bullet closes the distance, forcing the beast to acknowledge the sudden distraction, and he bats the shot away with casual ease, his reflexes proving far too quick for the team. Then he discards the projectile like it was nothing more than a nuisance. Lin Meng watches the divine envoy move with terrifying speed, and the beast slams Diwu Jingquan into the ground with a single crushing blow, so the impact shatters the surrounding pavement, leaving Diwu Jinquin reeling from the sheer force while the Divine Envoy mocks them, claiming this fight offers him no challenge at all, and Diwu Jinquin realizes the power gap is insurmountable, forcing him to accept he is completely outmatched. And Lin Meng rushes to her brother's side, desperate to see if he can still stand, as Diwu Jinquin curses their luck, realizing their presence has been fully exposed to such a lethal predator. So he instructs Zhao Liubai to help him stall for enough time to turn the tide, and Diwu Jinquin reveals that their only hope lies in using the Legion token to force a rank advancement, while Zhao Liubai stares in disbelief that such a rare and powerful item is in their possession. Then Diwu Jinquin triggers the relic, flooding the immediate area with a blinding surge of energy, as the shockwave from the activation rocks the nearby structures, drawing even more attention to their position, and Diwu Jinquin commands his team to stand ready, waiting for his signal to initiate their final gamble, while the Divine Envoy observes the energy spike with excitement, eager to hunt a stronger prey. Then Diwu Jinquin begins the rapid advancement process, pouring every ounce of spirit energy into the token. The spirit crystal count spikes to over 500,000, signaling the start of the final push, and Diwu Jinquin channels the raw energy into his blade, forcing the atmosphere to warp under the pressure. Just as the test manifests in the form of a massive fire-breathing frog that demands immediate submission, the creature lunges with a torrent of flames, but Diwu Jinquin refuses to yield an inch of ground, knowing that defeating this trial is his only ticket to the next rank. He lunges forward with his sword drawn, and the beast tries to bite through his guard, but Diwu Jinquin deflects the strike in a blur of motion, slicing through the flames to strike at the frog's hide. He keeps his momentum focused on the kill, knowing time is a luxury he does not have. He pushes his physical limits to end the fight before the envoy regains interest. And with a decisive strike, Diwu Jinquin plunges his blade deep into the beast's back, forcing it to roar in agony as the massive spirit dissipates into nothingness. The silence that follows leaves the divine envoy watching from his throne, and the beast wonders why the swordsman has stopped his assault, completely misinterpreting the strategy, while Lin Meng and Zhao Liubai scan the perimeter, unaware that a new group of opportunists is already closing in. These new arrivals quickly realize the presence of a divine envoy, sensing the massive aura radiating from the throne. They speed toward the epicenter on motorcycles, their arrival creating a new layer of chaos in the middle of the trial, and the leader recognizes the envoy immediately, signaling his crew to prepare for a high-stakes confrontation. The divine envoy senses a disturbance, his gaze locking onto the horizon as he realizes he has company. A squad of bikers from the Flying Eagle Empire roars into the compound, clearly looking for a fight. These outsiders are not here for diplomacy since their intelligence reports claim the previous Empire envoy vanished right here. Their leader orders his men to test the envoy's combat power, and they immediately deploy a defensive barrier. Diwu Jinquin watches from the shadows, wondering where these idiots crawled out from. While Lin Meng can barely believe what she is seeing, certain that these newcomers have lost their minds, the lead biker ignores the warnings about the envoy's strength. Locking his heavy artillery cannon onto the target, he unleashes a massive energy blast, eager to prove that he can handle a legend solo. The divine envoy does not even move from his perch, waiting for the smoke to clear with absolute disdain, mockingly noting that these mortals lack basic self-awareness. He reaches out with a single hand, catching the entire artillery shell midair as if it were nothing more than a stray pebble. The bikers recoil in pure disbelief, realizing the raw power required to swat away a blast that could level a building. Their leader barely has time to process the rank 2 status before the tide of battle shifts. The divine envoy charges a sphere of dark energy, his patience for the interruption completely exhausted. He leaps from the throne, closing the distance in a blur of motion while the energy crackles around his claws. The Flying Eagle Empire soldiers scramble to protect their boss, but their energy shields stand no chance. A single, crushing strike tears through their defensive line like it is made of paper. Bodies go flying into the air as the shockwave obliterates their formation. The divine envoy lands with predatory grace, his presence alone freezing the survivors in terror. Realization dawns on the soldiers that they have no hope of survival. The beast grabs one soldier by the neck, declaring that his mood has been ruined. With a roar, the divine envoy slams his captive into the ground, exerting overwhelming force. The soldier barely gasps out his disbelief at the sheer disparity in their power. Before he can even attempt to counter, the envoy finishes him off with a lethal strike. The soldier is sent reeling, his body failing as the envoy's dominance remains absolute. Just as the final blow is about to land, an unseen force intervenes. The soldier looks around in utter confusion, wondering who could possibly have saved him. A flash of energy deflects the lethal strike, carving a deep trench into the earth. Diwu Jinquin emerges from the shadows, stepping forward to face the monster head-on. A surge of power radiates from Diwu Jinquin as he locks eyes with his nemesis. Lin Meng and Zhao Liubai watch as Diwu Jinquin steps out, his successful spirit advancement clear to everyone present. The divine envoy lets out a manic laugh, drawing his blade as he recognizes the shift in his opponent. Steel clashes against steel in a blurring display of combat speed. Noting that the wait was worth it, the beast surges with a glowing aura. Diwu Jinquin weaves through the incoming assault with calculated, precise movements. Declaring his intent to end the monster's reign, Diwu Jinquin unleashes a wave of dark, lethal energy. The divine envoy struggles to track his movements, momentarily losing his footing from the sheer velocity. Closing the distance instantly, Diwu Jinquin launches a desperate, killing blow. A massive star-shaped mark manifests in the air, pulsing with ominous, watching eyes. The divine envoy gathers concentrated energy in his palm, planning to devour his opponent to reclaim his strength. Leaping into the fray, Daewoo Jinkwon cuts through the gathering purple energy with a sharp strike, unleashing the Blade of Ruin. He carves a path directly through the beast's defenses. A pained grunt escapes the Divine Envoy as he is knocked backward. Disbelief washes over the beast when he realizes that he has actually been wounded, snarling in rage. The Divine Envoy labels the Tier 4 fighter a nuisance. Daewoo Jinkwon launches a heavy strike, forcing the Divine Envoy to retreat. Glowing energy ripples through the air as the beast desperately blocks the incoming slash. Shock floods the Divine Envoy's mind because the damage output is far beyond expectations. The beast growls a death threat while lunging back at his opponent. Daewoo Jinkwon mocks the envoy's lack of qualification and deflects the claws, staring down the beast with a grin. He prepares to finalize the pressure. A surge of dark energy erupts, pinning the Divine Envoy in place. Blood spills as the blade connects, causing the creature to cry out. The envoy realizes he is outmatched, struggling to even maintain his footing. Watching from the shadows, an observer marvels at the impossible feat of a mortal killing a divine envoy. Lin Meng and the others notice Daewoo Jinkwon has clearly leveled up after his successful trial, admitting his own arrogance. The divine envoy rises and draws a weapon to retaliate. He unleashes a final, desperate attack intended to crush Daewoo Jinkwon. Seeing through the beast's move, Daewoo Jinkwon recognizes the pathetic nature of this counter. The creature collapses under the force of its own failed assault. The Divine Envoy makes a desperate escape, vaulting away from the battlefield. Daewoo Jinkwon watches the retreat, noting that the beast knows when to cut its losses. A nearby scout records the event, realizing the myth of the invincible Divine Envoy has been shattered. Lin Meng and Zhao Liubai rush over, clearly impressed by the power Daewoo Jinkwon displayed. Concerned for his condition, Lin Meng checks if Daewoo Jinkwon sustained any serious wounds during the fight. Ignoring the minor ache, Daewoo Jinkwon insists they evacuate before the creature decides to circle back. The group agrees to regroup and head toward Redstone City to finalize their mission objectives. Just as they start to move, a frantic newcomer sprints toward them from the distance. Daewoo Jinkwon stops to address the exhausted man who just crashed into their path. The stranger identifies himself as Lin Fei, captain of the Flying Eagle Empire's advance squad. Lin Fei tries to play it cool, immediately asking for contact information to maintain ties, turning him down flat. Daewoo Jinkwon shows zero interest in forming new alliances right now. Desperate to at least know who saved his team, Lin Fei calls out for a name. Daewoo Jinkwon pauses to reveal his identity, leaving the captain stunned by the sudden encounter. Lin Fei watches the group walk away, realizing he just witnessed something truly exceptional. Lin Fei frantically logs the encounter into his device, knowing Daewoo Jinkwon is a name that needs to be escalated. The team's vehicle tears away from the scene and kicks up clouds of dust as they hit the road inside the car. The conversation drifts toward the future, and Daewoo Jinkwon admits his growing interest in exploring new dimensions. Questioning if he plans to hunt for specific ones, Lin Meng listens closely to the swordsman's next move. Daewoo Jinkwon explains that he only feels truly secure when he is actively pushing his limits and growing stronger. The vehicle rolls toward the outskirts of Redstone City as the sun begins to set on their journey. Pulling into the city, Daewoo Jinkwon climbs out of the truck to find their destination finally within reach, looking over at Lin Meng. Daewoo Jinkwon tells her it is time to head home and acknowledges the hard work she put in. Just as they start to settle, a stranger runs up to them and begs to stay by Daewoo Jinkwon's side. Confused by the sudden request, Daewoo Jinkwon asks why the newcomer does not just return to their own family. The stranger insists on staying and drops a bombshell about receiving fresh intel on a new dimension. Leaning in, the stranger reveals their family found out that miners are currently being recruited for a secret job. The group tracks the lead straight to the Redstone City shantytown, where a line of hopefuls has already formed. A recruiter stands at a desk and manages the crowd, demanding that everyone stay calm and wait their turn. Daewoo Jinkwon and his team approach the perimeter to see exactly who is signing up for this mysterious operation. Daewoo Jinkwon eyes the crowd gathered at the shantytown, doubting they are just regular miners. A local confirms the group is indeed heading into the dimension. A stranger introduces himself as Ammon, claiming he can pull strings to get them inside. The team questions exactly how this scalper can bypass the standard regulations. Ammon demands 10 gold coins per person, citing the difficulty of securing official work permits. Daewoo Jinkwon accepts the steep price, warning Ammon that he better not be running a scam. The scalper waves them forward, leading the group deep into the city streets. They duck into a hidden alleyway, leaving the main thoroughfare behind. Ammon explains his brother works for the underground gang in charge of permits. The trio descends a narrow staircase, following their guide into the dark. They reach an unassuming door that leads straight into the gang's headquarters. Inside, the space is packed with people partying in a chaotic, neon-lit lounge. The atmosphere is thick with booze and music as the crowd dances away. Ammon navigates the loud room, guiding the team toward the back. He points out that the Black Dragon Gang controls all legal mining access here. Ammon marches back into the lounge, announcing his return to the gang leader. The boss is busy relaxing with his girl and clearly is not thrilled to see him. But Ammon does not hesitate to present Daewoo Jinkwon, Lin Meng, and Zhao Liubai as paying customers. The gang leader eyes the trio with suspicion before finally sitting up to address them, demanding they acknowledge the steep price for their requested mining access. Daewoo Jinkwon calmly confirms they want 3 permits for a total of 30 gold coins. The boss signals his underling to grab the paperwork, clearly liking the sound of that payout. Daewoo Jinkwon insists on cash on delivery and slides the payment over. The exchange goes through with the permits in the heavy gold bag changing hands. Ammon swears they run an honest business as the team secures their entry passes. Daewoo Jinkwon is still skeptical about the permits, even while the team prepares to head out. But before they can leave, the doors burst open as armed men storm the lounge. Chaos erupts in the middle of the party while the dancers scramble to get away. A newcomer announces that the Blood Wolf gang has arrived to shut the Black Dragon operation down. The raiders immediately order a full lockdown to prevent any gang members from escaping. Innocent bystanders are already getting caught in the crossfire as the lounge descends into total panic. Diwu Jingqun, Lin Meng, and Zhao Liubai observe the carnage from the entrance and realize this is a targeted vendetta. Ammon spots the opening and bolts for a window, desperately calling out for his brother to follow him to safety. The raiders notice the movement and immediately shift their focus toward the window to cut off the escapees. Diwu Jingqun refuses to be pinned down and physically shoves an intercepting thug aside to clear a path for his team. The group maneuvers into the hallway and narrowly avoids the initial wave of attackers. One of the Blood Wolf enforcers watches the window with frustration. Realizing their primary targets have slipped through their fingers, the gang leader spots Diwu Jingqun and his companions in the corridor and immediately brands them as conspirators. Lin Meng realizes their cover is blown and that they are now the primary targets of the Blood Wolf hunt.